Apocalypse, my items upgrade infinitely. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Mechanical Pioneer, Old Driver. Lin Feng opened the car door immediately, rushed in, and went to the bedroom. At this moment, Chen Yannian, lying on the big bed, was still in a coma, but she had some vague consciousness and was muttering softly. The changes in the RV must have something to do with her. Could it be some kind of supernatural power that controls the operation of the car? Looking at the warning reminder appearing in front of him, Lin Feng hesitated for half a second and made a decisive decision, acquiescing to the intrusion of unknown energy. As the system permissions were opened, the vibration of the car body gradually subsided, but it was still running automatically and became smoother. Fortunately, at present it is just a simple ignition start, and it has not yet reached the stage of shifting gears and driving. Otherwise, Lin Feng wouldn't dare let it drive recklessly. Time passed minute by minute. Lin Feng sat on the edge of the bed, holding Chen Yannian's hand tightly. Energy continued to radiate from her brain, sink into the armored RV, and was gradually absorbed, and the abnormalities in the surroundings also dissipated. At the same time, Chen Yannian's heart had cooled down, the rise and fall of her chest was no longer so violent, and she fell into peaceful sleep. After a while, at Lin Feng's gentle call, the unconscious Chen Yannian slightly opened her eyes, confusion written all over her pale cheeks. What's gradually wrong with me? Looking at the panel that appeared in front of him, Lin Feng smiled with relief and comforted. It's okay, you have awakened a powerful supernatural power, Chen Yannian, LV 1019 horsepower 60, VT 56, SPR 60 superpower awakening, mechanical pioneer, remote control of mechanical devices within a certain range, evaluation, a weak female who is pretty and a bit smart, and finally has a gift with great potential. Work hard to grow and become the Queen of War who dominates everything in the future. The system named Chen Yannian's ability as a mechanical pioneer, who can use mental energy to remotely control mechanical devices. This superpower is relatively weak in the early stages, and the combat effectiveness is not significantly improved, but it has great potential. As long as it grows and develops to the later stages and is able to control mechanical bodies on a large scale, Chen Yannian will be able to control large equipment alone. Wonder the system evaluated her as the Queen of War, who will dominate everything in the future. The problem is that it is too weak in the early stage, the improvement of physical fitness is limited, and only the mental attribute is acceptable. In Lin Feng's eyes, Chen Yannian raised her left hand in confusion. Apart from feeling a little groggy, there seemed to be no special changes. Her strength was even lower than before she fainted. What superpowers are there? Why don't I feel anything? Lin Feng let go of her right hand and explained patiently, not physically, but mentally. Now relax your mind, close your eyes, and empty your mind. Don't be anxious. Feel it with your heart. Chen Yannian swallowed her saliva, followed the mysterious method Lin Feng had suggested, closed her eyes, and entered a state of ecstasy. Soon, the whole picture of the armored RV beside her appeared in her mind. In the three-dimensional perspective view, she could even see each module in part. Chen Yannian's hands were shaking a little and she didn't know what to do. Lin Feng held her right hand again to calm her down. The man's reassuring words also came to my ears. Don't be nervous, this is your talent, imagine yourself driving it. Chen Yannian slightly and began to imagine herself sitting in the driver's seat, skillfully stepping on the brakes, shifting into D gear, and slowly releasing the pedal with her right foot. As she was lying on the bed imagining the operation, the armored RV suddenly started and drove forward a few meters. The feeling of dislocation and shaking woke Chen Yannian up. She suddenly opened her eyes, and the RV continued to move forward uncontrollably. Fortunately, the accelerator did not move, maintaining the lowest idle speed, and at this moment, Chen Yannian seemed to realize something and began to concentrate, recalling the wonderful feeling before. In the simulation of her brain, she stepped on the brake and shifted back to P gear. With two beeps, the driverless RV stopped and returned to calm man beside her excitedly and said uncertainly, "Is it me who caused it to start just now? I seem to be able to control this RV." Lin Feng smiled and nodded, affirming the other party, "Yes, it's you. This is the superpower you really awakened, the remote control of the mechanical body. This ability may seem weak, but if it is combined with my special ability, It can be used to its full potential. Congratulations, senior sister Chen, you will be my full-time driver. For life. Chen Yannian took a few deep breaths to calm down her excitement. At this moment, with Lin Feng's recognition, the anxiety and fear that had been suppressed in her heart for a long time finally subsided. Chen Yannian wrapped Lin Feng's hands tightly with both of her hands. There was a layer of mist in her eyes. She said in a trembling but firm voice, I do. Lin Feng reached out and held her cheek, then stepped forward and gave her a deep kiss, accepting the woman's promise and expressing his own affirmation. After a while, when the two separated, Lin Feng looked at Chen Yannian, whose face was blushing, and kissed the back of her hand, saying lightly, well, as my full-time female driver, it's time to hone your driving skills. Wake up, let us figure out the properties and scope of application of this ability. Chen Yannian nodded, her blush faded, and she calmed down. She only knew that her special ability could be of great help to Lin Feng, but she was not clear about its true use. Then he put on his clothes and pants and sat in the driver's seat of the armored RV. This time she tried not to move her hands or feet, relying entirely on the mental commands in her brain to start the RV, shift gears, and drive it into the service area. With repeated practice, she became more and more proficient in the use of this ability, and was now able to complete the second subject in the parking lot with her eyes closed. Seeing that the time was ripe, with Lin Feng's encouragement, she steered the RV, drove out of the service area and entered the highway. Using his special powers, he telekinetically accelerated the RV until it reached more than 100 yards. Then, with some fear, he stepped on the brakes and slowed down. Lin Feng fastened his seat belt and looked at the female driver beside him with a little trepidation. After completing the incredible operation, he felt that he should give her some more encouragement. Good, you're making rapid progress. Now try it. While controlling the RV, raise your pistol and shoot out of the window. Chen Yannian's eyes lit up. If she could do two things at once, her role on the battlefield would be greatly enhanced, and the speed at which she killed insects and upgraded them would also increase. As expected, Lin Feng's considerations were thorough and detailed. As Chen Yannian became more and more proficient in operating the RV, she began to try to pull out her pistol, reach outside and aim and shoot her shooting accuracy while practicing driving. Lin Feng was very satisfied seeing this. He certainly didn't want Chen Yannian to lean out of the window and shoot. Facing a swarm of chasing insects, a god-level pistol alone cannot change the situation of the battle. The purpose of doing this now is to allow her to become familiar with multitasking or even multitasking in advance, so as to prepare for future upgrades to the RV and upgradable vehicle. It is not only a means of transportation, but also a flexible weapon-carrying platform. If you install a machine gun on a vehicle, it becomes an infantry fighting vehicle. If you install a smoothbore gun on a vehicle, it becomes a tank. Especially when he met the green-winged insect at noon today, Lin Feng's idea of modification became particularly strong. The reason why the previous two upgrades were not done was because once the weapons were installed, someone would need to aim them, and Chen Yannian had to concentrate on driving, and he already had a machine gun, so there was no need to operate other low-level weapons. Therefore, Lin Feng originally planned to let Tan Yuxin be responsible for armed guard to make up for the shortage of manpower. Now that Chen Yannian has awakened the ability of mechanical pioneer, Lin Feng can make crazy modifications without any bottom line. Upgrade the level 12 armored RV that simply stacks defense into an armed RV. Just install 10 machine guns with unlimited ammunition, then you can kill everyone. Chapter 52 Celebration Dinner, Level 15 Machine Gun. Lin Feng had already had a plan in his mind for improving the RV's attack methods. In addition to making up for the lack of firepower during driving, another important reason is to provide the RV with a means to obtain other upgrade points. Relying on the front of the car to ram and crush is too extravagant and dangerous. Although the scene of the ferocious and majestic front of the car hitting the black-backed beetle is shocking, this is only an emergency measure. After a few collisions, the car will wear out rapidly and may be scrapped directly. It is not worth it to waste the giant raw materials that you have collected with great effort for a few upgrade points. However, if we rely on the mileage we have traveled on battlefields, we can only engage in crazy guerrilla warfare when war breaks out, but it will be difficult to stop the war. For example, this time, Lin Feng went to the edge of the Zerg territory to capture living insects. After running 80 kilometers back and forth, I only got a few upgrade points, which I absorbed from that small-scale battle. If the number of black-backed insects attracted is not that large, only 4 or 5, the armored RV will not be able to catch anything. Therefore, Lin Feng needs a more efficient and convenient way to upgrade auxiliary equipment and add offensive means. Moreover, if it is not armed quickly, the upgrade progress will fall behind, and it will be unable to cope with the high-intensity fighting on the front battlefield 10 days later. Now with Chen Yannian's special ability coming to the rescue and providing a solution, the stone weighing on Lin Feng's heart can finally be relieved. The armored RV was driving on the empty highway. The two practiced for 2 hours and did many other experiments during the period. For example, the maximum control distance of superpowers was only 50 meters. Beyond 50 meters, Chen Yannian could not maintain stable and effective control, and beyond 100 meters, even the sensing would disappear. Depleted and mentally depressed, it was already past 5 in the evening on the way back. While driving, Lin Feng comforted Chen Yannian, who was a little depressed in the passenger seat. It's okay. You've just upgraded. It's only the initial stage of the first stage. As the insecticide continues to strengthen, your ability will become stronger and stronger, and if you control the steering wheel with one hand, combined with your special abilities, you can control it for a longer period of time. Go back and have a good rest. Today has been great. Tomorrow we will go to the toll booth and have another practical training. With Lin Feng's comfort and encouragement, Chen Yannian rubbed her numb face and put on a smile again from her tired expression. Okay, but I have to get some sleep tonight. I'm sorry, I just can't bear it anymore. Let's leave what happened at noon until tomorrow. As she spoke, Chen Yannian yawned, leaned on Lin Feng's arm, and fell into deep sleep. Lin Feng turned his head and kissed Chen Yannian on the after finishing everything. Looking at the sleeping Chen Yannian, Lin Feng gave her a light kiss on her pink lips, then got up and left. In order not to disturb Chen Yannian's rest, Lin Feng decided to go to the shop and rest area nearby to have a simple dinner. Unexpectedly, I ran into Qin Hu and his friends who were walking out of the mall. When the other party saw Lin Feng coming, he immediately greeted him. I was just about to contact you. Let's go. There will be a celebration banquet in Wuchen tonight. How can I bear the consequences if you, the real hero, don't go? Snacks and instant noodles had also been cleared away. Now if I go back to the RV I can only eat pre-prepared meals, so I might as well go with Qin Hu, have a good meal, and go to the dinner party to make myself familiar with the guests. After thinking for a moment, Qin Hu asked directly without waiting for Lin Feng to agree, where's your female companion? She's the teammate who escaped with you. Ask her to come along. Lin Feng shook his head. She just completed her awakening today. She overused her powers and was a little tired, so she rested early. Qin Hu hesitated and said in a low voice, it's better to bring a familiar female companion. It can save a lot of unnecessary trouble, especially since you are now a popular and powerful awakener and a future rising star of the Federation. Thanks to publicity, although Qin Hu is the hero of the successful interception on the surface, many people already know that there is a super bullet awakener in the administration. And its strength should not be underestimated. Seeing that Lin Feng was a little puzzled, Qin Hu continued to explain, tomorrow is a holiday, so everyone will be having fun tonight. Of course, if you don't mind, you can relax for the night. As he spoke, Qin Hu gave a look that all men understood. Lin Feng frowned slightly, probably guessing something. He is not a young man like Horming who has nowhere to vent his emotions. He attends dinner parties more for social interaction. I'll find someone to change into a dress. Qin Hu smiled and reminded, it's okay, I'll be here, we'll set off together then. Lin Feng nodded, walked quickly into the hotel, found Han Yuxin who was on the phone, explained his purpose, and the other party readily agreed. What a coincidence. The VIP area of this banquet is filled with high-class people from all over the Federation, many of whom are potential clients for our business. I was just trying to figure out how to get in. Come on, this is one of the few good opportunities. Then, Han Yuxin stood up and walked forward, wrapping her arms around Lin Feng, squeezing his strong arms against her chest, appearing very intimate. I've prepared a dress, come and try it on. After saying that, she pulled Lin Feng into the bedroom at the back, and took off her knitted cape and plain white skirt in front of him, leaving only a set of white lace lining, revealing her plump figure. Then she changed into an elegant bright yellow dress, showing off her curvy figure. Lin Feng stood there in a daze, obviously not expecting the other party to be so open. Don't consider yourself an outsider at all. Han Yuxin raised the corners of her mouth slightly. After changing her clothes, she tugged at the hem of her skirt, picked up a sky blue men's suit, walked in front of Lin Feng, and said, First time wearing this? Let me help you change it. I don't know your size. This is what Hu Fei bought as a spare. It might be a little tight. Lin Feng was a little at a loss. He took off his short-sleeved shirt and let the woman fiddle with it. After a long time, he finally put on the slightly small lining. Fortunately, the dress jacket was relatively large, so it didn't look so restrained. During this time, Han Yuxin's buttocks rubbed against Lin Feng's body intentionally or unintentionally. Lin Feng enjoyed the fragrance and softness of the beauty's body. After changing her clothes, he pulled her into his arms, lowered his head and sniffed the elegant fragrance on her snow-white and slender neck, and spoke softly. Is seducing me like this part of your job? Han Yuxin's eyes were blurred, and the charming smile on her lips exhaled pieces of fragrant orchids, which penetrated into her bones. As long as Mr. Lin likes it, anything is fine. This is also my duty. Lin Feng frowned slightly, his face gradually turned cold. Do your job well. This time I just need you to help me block some unnecessary troubles. I'm a little uncomfortable with your two faces. It's better to return to normal. Seeing the man pretending to be serious, Han Yuxin chuckled, turned around and pressed against his chest, stretched out her hand and stroked Lin Feng's angular cheek with the back of her hand, and whispered softly, back to normal? Which one do you prefer? Which woman wouldn't like a handsome, young, and powerful man like you? So, this is also work. If you and I don't act intimate, those women will feel that they still have a chance. You don't want to cause unnecessary trouble, do you? Lin Feng coughed lightly, feeling like he was being played with, and quickly changed the subject. I've prepared my dress in advance. Is attending the celebration banquet also the purpose of your return to Wuchen? Han Yuxin nodded and admitted generously, anyone can enter the ordinary banquet hall, but the VIP area requires a referral. I was just worrying about this, but I didn't expect that Mr. Lin already had someone to recommend him. Lin Feng shrugged and took a half step back. Go wait outside. I'll say goodbye to Chen Yanyan. After saying that, he left the back room of the hotel, trotted back to the RV, and took out a machine gun on his waist. At this moment, it had been upgraded, machine gun level 1519, red quality upgrade points. 13-7, damage 110, effective range 4 kilometers, remaining bullets 2500, 2500 additional attributes, bullet recovery 1/S, space magazine 2500 spare bullets, death eye 0 for 20 tightly. He then stuffed the red armor shield he had taken off earlier into the back of his dress in the form of a back armor. Weapons are definitely not allowed at this banquet, but as long as you have shields and armor, your safety will be fine. Looking at Chen Yanyan who was sleeping soundly beside him, Lin Feng tore off a piece of paper, wrote down his intention to leave, and placed it on the bedside table. Then he turned and left, locking the RV. He came to Han Yuxin who had been waiting for a long time, and got into Qin Hu's military jeep while she was hugging him. Leave the service area and enter Wuchen Center at this moment. Wuchen is brightly lit and bustling with activity. Chapter 53, Line of Defense, Dinner, and Downtrodden Nobles. Thousands of dump trucks, mixer trucks, and cement pump trucks were mobilized to pour hundreds of thousands of tons of high-strength concrete into the molds. With the help of steel frame, one fortress after another was cast and connected in a line. These large-scale and extremely solid fortifications were the basis for the 13th Division to stop the 10 expansion of the Zerg days later. Qin Hu sat in the passenger seat, rolled down the window, and his confidence was evident in his eyes, that the entire defense line stretches for 20 kilometers and is divided into 3 layers. This is the outermost circle. A main fort will be built every 200 meters, for a total of 100 forts. They will be built simultaneously. It is expected that 15,000 people will be stationed there. Through crossfire support, we can easily hold a position even against an army of hundreds of thousands of black spine insects. Shorter, about 10 kilometers. The final line is located in the western district of Wuchen and is responsible for protecting the frontline headquarters. It's a total of 5 kilometers. With so many layers like this, even if the Queen Mother's army is at the gates of the city, after bypassing the defense line, they will not be able to completely capture Wuchen. Instead, they will face the dilemma of being attacked from both sides. Low-level bugs have no means of long-range attack. They are all sitting ducks. The Federation will surely win this defensive battle. Qin Hu introduced them enthusiastically to Lin Feng and the others. In fact, he was also cheering up his own people. Losing more than a dozen cities overnight and 100,000 square kilometers of coastal territory was an absolute defeat for the Federation and even the entire human race on Blue Star. Low morale needs to be boosted. Solid fortifications are the backing of confidence. Lin Feng and Han Yuxin were shocked and speechless when they saw the magnificent scale of the construction before them. I couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. The powerful productivity and organizational power unleashed by the modern industrial system are fully demonstrated at this moment. Like a precision machine, it completed instructions quickly. Most of these conscripted people were refugees from the suburbs of coastal cities, including many who remained in Wuchen, totaling as many as 1 million. They shared the same hatred and were united in purpose. Only with such a number of people can such a large-scale construction be supported. They even worked day and night to complete the project in just 6 or 7 days. Before the Zerg arrived, Lin Feng took a deep breath. It was a pity that such a grand event could not be held all over the country, otherwise the Federation would really be able to stop the Zerg's advance. Just as he said before, relying solely on defense would be too passive. Firstly, the supply line is a problem, and secondly, the Zerg can take a detour and invade the rear, although it would take several times longer to take a detour. By doing so, the defensive fortifications of Wuchen would be rendered useless. All we can say is that useless. The symbolic significance of this unbreakable line of defense far outweighs its practical usefulness. Unless this is a steep and dangerous pass that can rely on the natural terrain and is easy to defend and difficult to attack, it will be of little use. Unfortunately, the entire Jiangnan province is flat, with thousands of miles of fertile fields and wetlands, and the Zerg can easily dig countless tunnels underground and take Jincheng directly. However, Qin Hu also mentioned that the strategic purpose of the Wuchen blocking battle was to cover the transfer of heavy industry from the provincial capital Jincheng. If these are not built, the Zerg will be able to reach the outskirts of Golden City within half a month, which will have a more serious impact on the Federation's war potential. As long as we can successfully delay them, even if it forces the Zerg to take a detour and takes an extra month, the strategic goal will be achieved. As for the others, they are all image projects to boost morale through propaganda. Lin Feng quickly saw the truth behind it, but he would not say it or publicize it. For some things, it's enough to just know them in your heart. In this life and death crisis, only a few people can truly see the situation clearly. Thinking of this, the previous shock gradually dissipated. Lin Feng looked at the crowd of people with high morale, and a trace of pity emerged in his indifferent eyes. Soon, the jeep passed 2 checkpoints and drove into a remote and uninhabited area and stopped outside a 5-star hotel building. Destination for the celebration party was finally arrived at. Lin Feng got out of the car first, turned around, held Han Yuxin's hand, and walked in with her. Qin Hu handed over a beautiful emerald green invitation. "I have to go to your sister-in-law's place and change my clothes. You guys go into the hall first and eat something to fill your stomach." Lin Feng took the invitation, waved goodbye, and then turned to look at the woman next to him. "To be honest, the original purpose of my coming here was to have a good meal," Han Yuxin chuckled and said as she walked. "This building is a famous 5-star hotel in the entire Jiangnan province. The cooking skills here are not bad. Mr. Lin can enjoy a feast for his appetite." Lin Feng led the woman forward, passed the security verification and security scan at the door, and entered smoothly. After passing through a revolving door, a magnificent lobby appeared before our eyes. The beautiful waiter of the hotel came forward with a smile and gave a warm introduction. Lin Feng, who had never been here before, was not quite used to it. Fortunately, Han Yuxin, who is knowledgeable and experienced, helped Lin Feng resolve the unnecessary embarrassment. Led by the waiter, the two came to the second-floor lobby of the hotel, where many guests had already arrived, with a scale of nearly 700 or 800 people. In addition to the beautiful women in gorgeous clothes, more than half of the men are enhanced people above level 7, and there are also many awakened ones among them. Most of them were wearing military uniforms, and judging by the ranks displayed on their shoulder straps, they were all low-level lieutenants. There were also a few colonels, but they were walking upstairs with some dignitaries, smiling. Lin Feng just took a quick look and then turned his attention to the long dining table, where countless delicacies were placed. There are cuisines from all regions, so dazzling that Lin Feng has a hard time choosing. Because it was a buffet, he picked up the plate and joined the soldiers in feasting, which attracted their attention. After all, someone dressed like Lin Feng shouldn't be greedy for this. Lin Feng didn't pay much attention to these looks. Filling his stomach was his first goal. He had no interest in the social interactions filled with desire in the center of the venue. After finishing a braised pork elbow, 2 charcoal grilled steaks, and a lot of mutton in no time, Lin Feng, burping, returned to Han Yuxin. Seeing her handing over the goblet, Lin Feng shook his head. "No, I don't drink." Han Yuxin smiled slightly. "Let's go. Many VIPs have already gone upstairs." Lin Feng nodded, bent his arms, let the woman hug him, and then went up the stairs. After showing the invitation to the doorman, I passed smoothly. This scene made many people in the hall look puzzled and surprised, and a trace of regret flashed in their eyes. After entering the VIP area, it was obviously much quieter, not as lively and open as the ones below. The food was a buffet, and the cold dishes had a very light smell. However, Lin Feng saw a lot of seafood. Now this thing is an absolute delicacy. After all, the coastlines of the world are occupied by Zerg in the future. Seafood will become less and less, and it has become the matrix for the Zerg's reproduction and explosion of troops. The dignitaries in the hall were gathered in groups of 3 or 4, discussing private matters in low voices. Here in vain, Lin Feng picked up the plate and prepared to try every exquisite dish. Han Yuxin was more purposeful. Unlike the aloof girl she was downstairs before, she scanned present, looking for potential business clients. In addition to the middle and high-level military officers in the 13th Division, there were also prominent congressmen whom everyone Lin Feng had only seen on TV, as well as many big entrepreneurs. Lin Feng even saw some men and women wearing luxurious and retro clothes, like ancient aristocrats. Most of them had indifferent expressions, and there was a hint of arrogance in their eyes when they looked at others, making them seem particularly out of place. Just as Lin Feng swallowed the tuna slices and was about to ask a question, Han Yuxin explained in a low voice, "They are all nobles from several small countries around, and some have fled by plane from overseas. These countries still have monarchies, and some royal families still have ruling power. However, unfortunately, they do not have the national strength of the Federation. Basically, the entire country fell within a day. By the way, they are all our high-quality customers. When you abandoned your country and fled, you took a lot of treasures with you." Han Yuxin looked at them as if she was looking at delicious prey. "I'm going to chat with them. Do you want to eat first or join us?" Lin Feng picked up a few polar red shrimps to show his determination to eat. Han Yuxin stood on tiptoe and kissed him on the cheek, then stood up and left, holding a glass of champagne. Lin Feng had no interest in these people. He just wanted to wait for Qin Hu to come and take him to meet the top military officials, especially the powerful awakeners among them. Not long after arriving, he had already seen several officers with awakening levels above LV-17. Just when Lin Feng was alone, concentrating on tasting the food, a blonde, blue-eyed girl wearing an elegant long dress suddenly appeared beside him. She lifted up the folds of her skirt with both hands and bowed her head politely. "Hello, Mr. Lin." Chapter 54, The Princess of the Lost Country, The Awakened Team. This was the first time that Lin Feng was approached by a foreigner, let alone a noble lady who was beautiful, dignified and gorgeous. The girl's skin was as delicate as snow and as white as mutton-fat jade. Her facial features were extremely exquisite. Her high nose bridge and big eyes with deep blue pupils made her look like a goddess in Western legends. Looking at the jewel necklace on the other person's snow-white neck and the laurel wreath on her golden hair, she seemed to have a prominent background. "Oh, hello." Lin Feng was a little at a loss. He spat out the remaining shrimp head in his mouth and replied simply. The graceful, elegant noble girl in front of him smiled slightly and continued speaking. Her voice was as sweet and melodious as that of a lark. It was the result of professional training among the nobles. Although it was of no practical use, it could naturally win a bit of favor during communication. For example, at this moment, Lin Feng can listen patiently. "Mr. Lin, please allow me to introduce myself. I am Betty Charlemagne, the first princess of the Lula Kingdom." Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. Although he knew that she was a noble, he did not expect that her identity would be so noble too or totally incomparable. In the past, Lin Feng would never have had such an opportunity to be approached by a princess of a country. Even now, it sounds extremely dreamy. So while Lin Feng was surprised, he also became secretly alert in his heart and slightly politely, "Special soldier, Lin Feng, greets Her Royal Highness the Princess." Betty kept smiling and said self-deprecatingly, "My country is almost gone. I am just a princess of a fallen nation. Don't call me Your Highness." Lin Feng was a little surprised. Betty was not as arrogant as other nobles. Instead, she seemed very friendly. Your Highness Betty, what do you want from me? At a time like this, shouldn't you be talking to those politicians and seeking some emergency asylum? Betty shook her head, a trace of loneliness appeared in her eyes. What's the point of looking for them? This is a chaotic world where the strong prey on the weak. No one can promise permanent safety and protection except for the gun in their hands and personal strength. Lin Feng nodded. It seemed that the nobles were not as stupid as they were in movies and TV dramas. On the contrary, they were all very smart. However, the princess still did not explain her purpose. So you guys come to attend this celebration banquet hosted by the military. Unfortunately, my strength is still too weak, so I can only provide you with some services for trading live insects. If you need anything, you can go talk to my female companion in detail. Betty raised her lips, looked up slightly, and looked at the handsome man with a strong physique in front of her. No, I came here just for you, Mr. Lin. Lin Feng frowned slightly and looked at the noble princess in front of him. She was only about 1.6 meters tall, a whole head shorter than him. But her body proportions are perfect, and her petite figure is stunningly beautiful against a backdrop of gorgeous clothes. It looks like a jade porcelain doll of national treasure level. Coupled with her innocent face, she gives people the impression that she is only in her early teens, but her words are mature and steady, not like that of a naive girl at all. Lin Feng retracted his gaze and curled his lips. Looking for me? Federal law requires the age to be 18. So I'm not interested in young girls. Besides, I already have a perfect partner. Princess Betty glanced slightly to the side, looked at the woman in the light yellow dress in the crowd, and said, in our country, you only need to be 16 years old, and I just held my coming-of-age ceremony this year. Besides, as an awakened person, you should know better than me how long the current law can remain effective. As for the perfect partner you mentioned, I'm afraid the relationship between that lady and you is at most a business partner. There is no affection between you, only interests. Lin Feng nodded, cracked a king crab leg, squeezed some lemon juice on it, scooped out a whole crab with a spoon, swallowed it with a slurp, wiped his hands and mouth with paper, and said while chewing, you are right. But I do not have the power to provide you with shelter. As a citizen of the Federation, I will not accept any employment from you or pledge allegiance to you, even if you are willing to use yourself as bait to lure me in. As he spoke, Lin Feng glanced up and down, unscrupulously sizing up the distinguished princess in front of him. To be honest, apart from your age and status, you have no competitiveness in front of those hot and open-minded foreign girls downstairs. Princess Betty's smile suddenly stopped. She obviously didn't expect the other party to reject her so directly, and his words and actions were so rude, like an uneducated pig and a fool. Why, is there something else? Go play somewhere else and don't disturb me while I'm eating. Lin Feng shrugged. After testing the other party's strength, he no longer had any interest. Princess Betty took a deep breath, calmed herself down, and put on a smile again from her stiff expression. You are right, so we are looking for a new way of cooperation. We will do our best to help you quickly complete the initial expansion of your power, just to obtain future protection. I have studied it, and among all the powerful awakeners, I only see a hint of familiarity in you. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes slightly, stopped walking, turned around and looked at the princess in distress. Oh, what? Betty put away her smile and said calmly, ambition, the taste of ambition. With the resources we bring, we can help you achieve what you want to do as soon as possible. Lin Feng chuckled and asked back, ambition? Then what do you think my ambition is and what do I want to do? Betty stared at the man in front of her, as if she could see through everything about him, and then said word by word, absolute strength, and victory over the Zerg. Lin Feng shrugged and didn't care. Increasing strength is what every awakener wants, and the Federation can do it by defeating the Zerg. Look at the unbreakable defense line in the distance. Flesh and blood can never defeat a wall of steel. Betty sneered and said in a low voice, do you really believe it? The more powerful the awakened one is, the more they know about the horror of those alien insects. The unbreakable concrete defense line can't stop their invasion at all. The Federation may seem powerful, but in reality, each state is fighting on its own. Each state has its own considerations, and with their own interests involved, they can never unite as one. Unfortunately, in times of chaos, severe punishments should be used to maximize the potential for war. We who are familiar with the monarchy are very good at this. There's a word for this, something you guys in the Federation love to do. Oh, yeah, angel investing. You can think of it as my angel investment, and the object of investment is you, Mr. Lin. We have no official status here. If you need anything one day, please feel free to ask. After saying that, Betty took out a pure gold business card from her skirt and handed it to the man in front of her. After Lin Feng took it, she lifted her skirt, bent down, bowed and left. Looking at the heavy business card in his hand, it is only 1/3 the size of a palm, but weighs 20 grams and is worth nearly 10,000. The royal family is still generous. The pure gold business card was engraved with 3 lines of contact address, including Princess Betty's personal contact number. At this time, Han Yuxin, who had finished the conversation, had walked back behind Lin Feng. She had seen from afar that the first princess of the Lule kingdom had taken the initiative to approach Lin Feng to talk. At this moment, seeing the business card left by the other party, his heart suddenly ignited with gossip. He leaned close to Lin Feng, with a sour tone in his voice. How about it? Princesses have a different temperament, right? Are you moved? Don't forget that I'm still here. Lin Feng turned around and rolled his eyes at her. Why are you jealous? Have you found a client who is interested in buying? If not, you can look for Betty. They have plenty of money anyway, as long as the industrial system has not collapsed. The value of gold will always be stronger than paper money. To be honest, Lin Feng feels uneasy about handing over the entire live insect business to one person. Perhaps Princess Betty is also a good partner. Lin Feng likes to make friends with smart people, although the arrogance of these nobles made him a little unhappy. If the one who needed to be flattered was himself, Lin Feng would naturally be very happy. Moreover, the other party was a princess of a country. Just based on this identity, countless beauties would be eclipsed in front of her. Han Yuxin wrote down the contact information on the business card, nodded and said, yes, these royal families are willing to pay a high price to buy the awakening package. Their foundation here is not solid, and the protection promised by others is far less reliable than their own strength. Please contact us when you have time. Not everyone can get the princess's personal phone number. A lean camel is bigger than a horse. With their help, we can speed up our expansion. Seeing Han Yuxin's pointed look, Lin Feng shrugged and politely refused. There is no such thing as a free lunch. You should understand this better than I do. As he spoke, Lin Feng put down his plate and looked into the distance. At the entrance of the VIP area, a middle-aged man in his 30s appeared with his wife and daughter. It immediately attracted a lot of attention and cheers. Lin Feng's gaze passed through him and quickly shifted to the other officers following him. Compared with who is only level 13, these low-key officers are all powerful beings above level 16 and have been upgraded to the late stage of the first level. There are even several level 19, the top level of the first order. To be able to put together such a team of awakeners, the strength of the 13th division should not be underestimated. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Meeting, News of Tier 2 Zerg. It is more than half stronger than Lin Feng at level 14. To be able to upgrade to LV19, one must at least completely kill 55 black spine insects. Anyone who can accomplish this feat in less than a day of fighting must be very brave and strong, but considering that they can control heavy weapons and kill black-spined worms on a large scale, such upgraded results are not surprising. Lin Feng discovered that the identification skill could only identify the level and attribute rating of organisms at a long distance, and further contact was needed to determine the specific superpowers that had been awakened. I don't know what special abilities these powerful new officers have. If they have only enhanced their physical fitness, their strength will be slightly compromised. As who entered with his wife and daughter, the small groups that had been scattered before gathered together and raised their glasses to welcome him. Wore the Federal Warrior Medal on his military uniform. He walked as he spoke. who looked at Lin Feng behind the crowd, then continued, and this time, the battle where Wu Cheng is located will be your first victory over the Zerg on the front battlefield. Everyone can see the magnificent fortifications being built in the distance through the French windows. That will be a great line of defense that the Zerg will never be able to cross. It will protect our soldiers in their bloody battles, guard the federal citizens of Wuchen, and guard the eastern gate. God blocking of the state capital, Jincheng. The Federation will win. Humanity will win. At the end of the highly inspiring speech, there was thunderous applause that lasted for a long time. who walked down from the podium and reunited with his wife and daughter. He was now becoming more and more skilled in handling such large occasions. After exchanging pleasantries with those dignitaries, Qin Hu brought his wife and daughter to Lin Feng's side, looked at Qin Hu's daughter, who is about 13 or 14 years old. The front line is dangerous, so we should send my sister-in-law and the others back to the rear as soon as possible. Qin Hu hummed, nodded and said, of course. We are here to celebrate this time. After we meet and reminisce about the past, we will leave tomorrow and send them to the safe base in the rear. By the way, do you have relatives or female companions who need to be sent away? I can help you arrange it together and go through the green channel. There aren't many spots left in the safe zone right now. If we follow this wave of refugees, I don't know how long we will have to wait. Lin Feng shook his head and declined the offer. My parents are gone, and I don't have many relatives around me. Now I'm killing insects, and I don't have any other concerns. Qin Hu nodded. Sending the relatives of soldiers and officers to the rear was also to allow them to stay in the front line and fight with peace of mind. Even if they unfortunately died, a considerable pension would be sent to their relatives. And a loner like Lin Feng is willing to stay here, purely out of his desire to kill insects and become stronger. This kind of person is pure, but also crazy. After all, there are not many people who dare to capture a bunch of living insects, especially the awakened black spine insects. Killing and capturing alive are two completely different concepts. Otherwise, Qin Hu would not have invited Lin Feng to promote and escort a future female star. Okay. I'll introduce you to the awakened team in the 13th Division. We follow the advice of the Research Institute and integrated all the awakened ones to form a reinforced battalion with very strong combat effectiveness. There are about 500 people, including a special elite team of the late first stage, and several of them will join you in the mission to capture the black spine worms the day after tomorrow. As Qin Hu was talking, he led Lin Feng to a corner of the hall, where stood the officers who had come in before. Most of them were captains, and a few were level 19, who, like Qin Hu, were newly promoted majors. It seems that the 13th Division has a very good attitude and treatment towards the awakened ones, and they seem to attach great importance to them. This is not only due to personal strength. To become a powerful awakened one must kill enough black spine insects. This is a real achievement and cannot be faked. Everyone, this is Mr. Lin Feng whom I mentioned to you before, the one I was lucky enough to meet during the rescue mission. However, he has joined the Jiangnan Administration Bureau and is now a special soldier in the State Guard. She is still very young, only 25 years old, and she has just graduated from college. She is really young and promising. The young officers in front of him nodded and did not look down on Lin Feng because of his low rank. They were all newly promoted and knew the importance of personal strength, not attach much importance to the level of military rank, and the Lin Feng in front of him, as a powerful super bullet awakener, has a combat capability that is far beyond the ordinary physical enhancement ability. After all, using super bullets and cooperating with a team of soldiers, they can easily suppress the charge of dozens or hundreds of black-backed insects, while they can only face extremely dangerous close combat. Whether in terms of function or effect, Lin Feng's abilities far surpass theirs. The few of them had a brief and polite conversation and got to know each other. Then discussed the Battle of Wuchang and their respective arrangements for the next few days. There are also people bragging about how to kill black-backed insects. Lin Feng followed Qin Hu to make himself familiar to him. This was also his purpose from the beginning. As long as this connection exists, it will be easier to talk when we meet again in the future. Compared with other civilian awakeners, Lin Feng's treatment will naturally be different. But soon, Lin Feng made a new discovery. While listening carefully in the late first stage, we're discussing some secret matters. Information about how to advance to level 2, and level 2 insects among the Zerg. After several of them were promoted to level 19, they could not continue to strengthen themselves no matter how many first-order black spine insects they killed. Their physical and mental attributes were stuck at 150 and were difficult to improve. Lin Feng was not quite sure about how to advance to the second level. After all, it was still too early for him. But regarding the second level Zerg, he had the latest news from Ding Chenghe, so he had some understanding. In the Research Institute's archives on the Zerg, only two types of mid-level Zerg species, which are between a large number of low-level soldier Zergs and high-level queen Zergs, have been discovered so far through drones. One is the tiger-backed worm that evolved from the black-backed worm. Its body size has increased 3 or 4 times, and it is 10 meters wide. It has obvious golden tiger stripes all over its body and is extremely ferocious. There is also an advanced version of the green-winged insect, temporarily called the wind-winged insect. Only a few blurry flying shadows were captured, and then the drone was dealt with. suspected to have long-range attack capabilities. By summarizing the information currently obtained, experts from the Institute speculate that these two types of second-order Zerg only exist around the Queen Mother and are the Queen Mother's last line of guard. They are rare in number but extremely powerful front battlefield, so when this kind of insect appears on the front battlefield, it means that the Queen Mother is already at the gate of the city, lurking underground, ready to break out of the ground at any time. Because it was not confirmed news, it was not released. Many frontline troops did not even know the existence of the second-order Zerg species. Lin Feng thought for a while, then walked up to the majors and told them the information he knew. After hearing this, several people looked at each other. One of them, a major at level 19, frowned and said, "Is the news reliable?" Lin Feng nodded without telling the source, and the other party tactfully did not ask any further questions. "Thank you, this is important news. My name is Cheng Zhan. If you need help in the future, you can contact us." After saying this, the major raised his glass to show his gratitude. Lin Feng returned the toast with a glass of juice. In addition to gain a favor by telling them the news, Lin Feng also wanted to verify the accuracy and reliability of the news through them. People always have to plan ahead. Although Lin Feng has only upgraded to LV14 now, it won't take a few days and a few missions to reach the maximum level. If there's a chance, Lin Feng wants to break through the first level and reach level 20 before the battle breaks out. After finishing speaking, Lin Feng walked out of the crowd. At this time, Qin Hu walked towards him and thanked him unexpectedly. "Haha, I didn't expect to owe you another favor, Lin Feng." Chapter 56, Decapitation Operation, Favor in Exchange. Just as Lin Feng was puzzled, Qin Hu came up and explained in a low voice, "The command center has an anticipated combat plan. Frankly, yes, of course, not now, but after the Wuchen blocking war breaks out, the Queen Mother will send all the Black Spine insect troops to the front battlefield. That's when it will be at its weakest. Determine its location, send a highly awakened team equipped with our most powerful individual weapons, and then we can try to behead the Queen Mother. As long as the Queen Mother is killed or seriously injured, all crises can be resolved immediately. Without the Queen Mother's command and control, the so-called Zerg army is nothing but a group of headless flies." A smug look emerged on Qin Hu's face, and he was already imagining the moment when humans completely defeated the Zerg. This combat plan was discussed by several staff officers in the command center in the afternoon. It was mainly to deal with the crisis of the Queen Mother circling behind. If they temporarily avoided the attack, the entire line of defense would become the biggest joke of this century. Zerg's brain, the commander, the Queen Mother. This mission will be accomplished by a special forces team of first-stage late awakeners. When Qin Hu learned the news, his joy lasted only a few minutes, and then he found out helplessly that it was quite difficult to choose a specific candidate. Because this is most likely a one-way mission. Even the strongest first-level awakener cannot face the attack of hundreds of black-backed insects at the same time. In the Awakener Reinforced Battalion under his charge, several officers in the late first stage have publicly stated that it is impossible for them to participate in such a one-way mission that would be tantamount to participate. The overall strength of the Awakened team is now rapidly expanding, especially the late first stage, which has physical and mental attributes that are more than 10 times that of ordinary people. Among them, the Awakened ones with enhanced physique can easily deliver several tons of force with one punch, and their speed is as fast as the wind, and in their extreme state, they can exceed 100 meters per second. The short-term burst of combat power is far greater than that of the Black Spine Worm, and it can even defeat the tank, the king of land warfare, in a single fight. As long as they are willing, 500 awakened people can not only easily deal with thousands of Black Spine insect armies, but also eliminate tens of thousands of ordinary soldiers within a few hours. When awakening and upgrading to this level, one can probably be considered a human of another species, and the mentality will naturally change. It would be difficult to recruit a group of loyal and reliable elite team members if such a suicidal mission was issued now. Even if they are forcibly conscripted, they can get away with it, and the key point is that the command center has no way to deal with them. So it's all voluntary registration. As a result, since the news was released in the afternoon, so far, only 1 or 2 late-stage First-Order Awakeners have come to Qin Hu for consultation. They also offered high rewards, which had to be paid in advance. These are not a problem. As long as we can seriously injure the Queen Mother and change the course of the war, we can agree to anything. But the key point is that there is really no one. After all, in the face of personal life, no matter how much wealth and glory you have, it is nothing but a pipe dream. The command center has put this pressure on Qin Hu, requiring him to put together 2 elite special operations teams of 16 people within 3 days. So Qin Hu has been troubled by this matter. He even planned to give up and stand on the side of the awakened ones to avoid being excluded. As a former special operations captain, Qin Hu still knows what is important and what is not. However, unexpectedly, Lin Feng's few key words at the party at this moment made Qin Hu's eyes flash with excitement when he saw the group of first-stage late officers. For those who have already reached the limit of their upgrade, the only thing they can do is to continue to strengthen themselves and become stronger people of the second level. This unexpectedly coincided with future decapitation operations. Don't worry about whether you really want to kill the Queen Mother. Just gather the required number of people first. Qin Hu's explanation made Lin Feng quickly understand the interests involved, but he was not optimistic about the decapitation operation. As one of the few survivors who witnessed the Queen Mother breaking out of the ground, that scene in the suburbs of Heicheng has been deeply engraved in Lin Feng's mind. Even if he had overcome the shadow in his heart now, the fear brought by that huge beast was still lingering. As the queen of a high-level Zerg, she has no other flaws except that she moves too slowly, and is far beyond the reach of a group of late-stage First-Order Awakeners. Even if it was only a level 32 high-level early queen, it had a health value of... Unless it could be accurately hit with hundreds of TNT-equivalent bombs, it would be difficult to seriously injure it. That's right, it was just seriously injured. If he wanted to kill it completely, Lin Feng would probably have to use a small-yield nuclear warhead and seize the brief moment when it broke out of the ground. In addition to this extremely thick blood volume, it also has 1,100 points of physical and 1,500 points of mental attributes. It can easily deal with a group of low-level humans with its mental abilities alone. Lin Feng even suspected that the Queen Mother possessed some special ability of mental control, otherwise she would not be able to control the low-level Zerg army from a long distance. I hope that these excited late-stage First-Order officers, if they want to participate in the decapitation mission, will only test the edge, and retreat directly after working together to deal with the Second-Order Zerg, instead of going up to the Queen Mother to die. Wish them good luck in advance. Lin Feng raised his glass and smiled at Qin Hu. Then an idea flashed in his mind. As the saying goes, one thing is one thing. Since the other party is so grateful to him, Lin Feng plans to take advantage of this unexpected favor in advance to increase the attack power of the armored RV to higher level. Task. But I just happen to have a favor to ask of you. Lin Feng put down his wine glass and changed the subject. Qin Hu narrowed his eyes slightly. What is it? I will send you the materials you need tomorrow morning. Lin Feng nodded. Thank you, but I was talking about something else. Qin Hu nodded without saying anything, waiting for the next words. Lin Feng took a deep breath and whispered, take over the cover mission of the service area. The firepower of the pistol I have is not enough. Can you provide some heavy weapons, such as large caliber machine guns? I want to transform that RV into an infantry fighting vehicle. Qin Hu frowned slightly when he heard this. If Lin Feng was a special soldier who joined the 13th Division, then everything would be easy. He could even just send him an armored vehicle. But Lin Feng had already joined the State Guard, and he didn't have the right to buy and sell weapons privately. Seeing that Qin Hu was a little embarrassed, Lin Feng continued, today, when I went to investigate the Zerg's activity area, I encountered a green-winged insect on my way back. They will help the Queen Mother collect intelligence. If I don't have the corresponding air defense means and eliminate them, the mission's whereabouts will be exposed, and the Queen Mother may also know our layout and planning in advance. Hearing this, Qin Hu considered it again and again, and finally agreed. I will send you the extra things you want in the name of deploying the outpost's weapons, but you cannot drive that modified RV into Wuchen. The car must also be camouflaged so it doesn't stand out. Lin Feng raised his lips slightly and promised solemnly, no problem at all. Good luck with all your missions. When Lin Feng and his companions returned to the service area in the jeep arranged by Qin Hu, it was already the early hours of the night. On the way, Han Yuxin looked at the takeaway box in Lin Feng's hand, and laughed again with a little drunkenness. I didn't expect you to ask for takeout at a dinner party, especially in the VIP area. That's self-service. Didn't you see the waiter's embarrassed look? And he had to run downstairs to the kitchen to find a box for you. After tonight, those VIPs may not remember others, but they will definitely remember you. This lovely guy. Lin Feng shrugged. He didn't care about these at all. He followed the principle of taking whatever he could get. What was face worth? Could it be eaten? I have to bring some for my teammates who didn't come. I'm not one to eat alone, Lin Feng explained and said no more. Han Yuxin looked at the man next to her. The angular outline of his profile suddenly looked even more handsome in the moonlight. Then, as she became drunk, her limp body quietly moved to Lin Feng's side, lightly leaning on his broad shoulders. After arriving at the service area, Lin Feng supported Han Yuxin and returned to the hotel. He got rid of her lingering attempts to keep her and placed her on the bed in the back room. Then he carried the packing boxes back to the RV. He tiptoed to the bedroom and found Chen Yannian still sleeping soundly, so he took out the level 15 machine gun hidden in the storage cabinet under the bed. Ready for the next upgrade. At this moment, a pair of slender and snow-white legs appeared behind Lin Feng's bed. Then, a soft and gentle hum was heard. You left without saying goodbye. Tell me. How are you going to compensate me? Chapter 57, Deep Love, Level 16 Machine Gun. Facing Chen Yannian's slightly question, Lin Feng turned his head and sniffed the calf skin pressed against his face, revealing a hint of a smile. You've already taken a shower, but you're still pretending to sleep. Chen Yannian snorted. You have not answered my question yet. Lin Feng reached out angry and lifted up the bag at his feet, and inside the takeout boxes were various delicacies. Look, I brought you some extremely precious seafood, and other things. Chen Yannian took the bags, but put them on the bedside table beside her and said, that's not enough, you have to take real action. As she spoke, she looked at the clothes on Lin Feng. Who prepared this dress for you? It's so tight that it makes your muscles pop out. Lin Feng shrugged. It's just a temporary decision, so I just wear it as it is. Chen Yannian stared at the man lying between her legs with a suspicious look. She leaned over and sniffed his chest and neck, then frowned slightly. Why are there two kinds of fragrances, one strong and bold, and the other fresh and elegant, subtle and noble? Did Kinhu specially prepare a pair of sisters with very different personalities for you to keep company? Lin Feng laughed. There's no way that can be taken off. If there was anything wrong, I wouldn't have rushed back overnight. Kinhu and the others warmly tried to keep me here for a long time. I left in a hurry because I remembered that you hadn't had dinner yet. Chen Yannian curled her lips and pretended to be angry. Well, okay, it's all my fault. I've hindered Master Lin's good deeds. Lin Feng looked at Chen Yannian's pouting lips. He had never seen her so arrogant before. The friction between the delicate skin of her long legs on both sides made his heart burn with heat. After eating and drinking, your thoughts will wander. Lin Feng suddenly turned over and got up, scaring the woman so much that she screamed and was then pressed under the man. Two straight and slender legs were hanging on Lin Feng's shoulders. The awkward position made Chen Yannian blush instantly. Lin Feng slowly leaned forward, looked at the woman in his arms, and gently stroked her cheek. Why, your possessiveness is getting stronger and stronger. Still don't allow me to find other women. Chen Yannian swallowed and looked at Lin Feng, who was so close to her. She could already feel his strong breath blowing on her cheeks and chest. Suddenly my mind went blank and I spoke incoherently. I have to check for you. This is the task assigned by my sister-in-law. Lin Feng's mouth corners slightly raised, and he lowered his voice more and more. To me, it's jealousy at work. If this continues, it will affect future development. You should know that you can't be the only one around me. Feeling the man approaching, Chen Yannian could no longer bear it. When her reserve was finally abandoned, her excitement was like a flood, and her eyes were instantly blurred with tears. But I only have you. What if one day, you no longer need me? Hearing the woman's words, Lin Feng's eyes showed tenderness, and he spoke softly. Didn't I tell you that you have to be my driver for the rest of your life and I have to take you with me wherever I go? If you want to leave, you have to ask me if I will let go. Chen Yannian no longer hesitated, and raised her head to kiss him. After a while, she whispered softly in the man's ear, want me? Hearing this, Lin Feng immediately pulled back the blanket. It turned out that Chen Yannian had already changed into the lace lining that he had chosen for her when she came out of the bath. Today the moon is hazy, and the scenery is beautiful. Lose your mind. The next morning, Lin Feng looked at the torn lining of his suit on the bed and recalled his impatient look in the early morning, which was really funny. The woman who was in a sweet dream, nestled in his arms like a girl, her round and tender legs still leaning against him. As Lin Feng woke up, he startled the sleeping woman, and Chen Yannian rubbed her eyes and muttered to herself. Lin Feng stood up and kissed her, his face full of pity. Have a good rest and sleep for a while. Looking at the woman nod drowsily and continue to sleep peacefully, Lin Feng smiled. He didn't expect that what Chen Yannian said was true, that he was her first man. Perhaps it was because of the conservatism in the countryside, or maybe she had met her true love, but in any case, she gave him the best without reservation. Therefore, Lin Feng should shoulder the due responsibilities. The burden on my shoulders has become heavier, but this urgent pressure to become stronger has a hint of sweetness. It also makes Lin Feng more motivated. Getting up from the bed, Lin Feng glanced at his phone. It was already 10 o'clock in the morning. He was indeed sound asleep. After drinking a large bottle of mineral water, he put on shorts and short-sleeved shirt, and then equipped the red armor shield and the pistol-like machine gun on the ground beside the bed. Additional attributes: bullet recovery 1/S, space magazine 3000 spare bullets, death eye 0/30. Apart from slight enhancements to the space magazine and Eye of Death, there are no major changes. Lin Feng directly started his own double upgrade, from LV-14 to LV-16. Suddenly, a strong warmth flowed from the pistol into the body, flowing through the whole body and improving the values of various attributes. After finishing everything, Lin Feng left the bedroom and walked out of the RV. He saw a large number of construction workers and engineering machinery appearing in the distance. There is also a team of soldiers maintaining order at the scene. It was bustling and extremely noisy. It seems that the upgraded RV has very good sound insulation in the bedroom. Sitting inside was the lieutenant officer whom Lin Feng had met once at the dinner yesterday. Lin Feng remembered that his last name was Li, and he was in his late 30s. He used to be Qin Hu's subordinate, and now he was his confidant, and had awakened to level 17. So Lin Feng went back to the RV, took a few packs of cigarettes, and walked over to the jeep, saying, "Hello, Brother Li, you came so early? Why didn't you see Brother Qin?" As he spoke, he handed over the cigarette. Lieutenant Li thought of the man named Lin Feng in front of him, and then he took the expensive cigarette and said with a smile, "It's getting late. The sun is already shining." The eldest brother took his sister-in-law to the airport. They will probably be back before noon. Oh, by the way, the truckload of goods he specifically ordered to be delivered to you is parked in the back. As he spoke, Li Ran tapped the car window. "Come on, get in the car. I'll take you there to get it." Lin Feng thanked him and got into the car. A moment later, a truck drove out and stopped outside the repair shop next to the RV. "The last time I upgraded and modified the RV, one of the rolling doors was scratched when I came out, but fortunately the other one was intact and could block the view outside 20 pairs of giant jaws." Then he and Lin Feng carried out several heavy wooden boxes from the deepest part. Lin Feng pried it open and saw that there were 3 standard 30mm anti-aircraft guns inside, and the last 2 large boxes of 6,000 rounds of spare ammunition. "Everything has arrived. Remember to get along well with the defense team that has been transferred here." Lin Feng nodded, understood, and stuffed the remaining 2 packs of cigarettes into Li Ran's pocket. After watching him drive away, Lin Feng turned around, looked at the materials on the ground, and the corners of his mouth slowly rose. Level 12 armored RV, 9 points left to upgrade, then upgrade the red armor shield on your back first. Chapter 58 LV11 Red Black Armor, Zhang Yuner. Lin Feng decisively started the upgrade. In the future, we will have to face sudden attacks from green-winged insects, and the current defensive power of the red armor shield is no longer enough. After consuming 17 pieces of back armor, it was successfully upgraded to level 9 red armor shield. Red armor shield LV9/9, white quality durability. 10/10, defense 45, variant, carapace, unconditional, shield, 24H/1 carapace, absolute defense, 1/1 carapace, advanced upgrade conditions, red quality materials. After the upgrade, the defense is increased by 10, and the duration of maintaining the shield is increased from 12 hours to 1 day. There are no other changes, but this was all within Lin Feng's expectations as long as it is not bound equipment. The property changes of ordinary items after upgrading will not be too big, especially for something as ordinary as the red armor shield, but if it is subsequently upgraded to red quality, it should have new morphological attributes. Lin Feng took out a pair of giant jaws hidden in the RV. These were left by the black-backed worm that Chen Yannian killed yesterday to launch the awakening upgrade. Lin Feng had originally planned to use it to upgrade the red armor shield. Now is the time to make the best use of it. He lifted the pair of giant jaws and brought them to the repair shop, where they were placed together with the red armor shield red light, completing the fusion upgrade. A few minutes later, a new, glittering shield appeared in front of Lin Feng. It is smaller than the previous carapace form, only 20 centimeters long and more than 10 centimeters wide of him. Red Black Armor LV October 19th, red quality durability. 10/10, defense 60, variant, arm guard, unconditional, full body armor, unconditional, absolute defense, 1/1 back armor, 10/1 jua, new variant, explosive scale armor, 50% damage taken, 50% defense reduction, upgrade method, fusion of red quality materials. Lin Feng took a look and found that except for the back armor being changed into arm guards, the other two items of the previous red armor shield were inherited. In particular, the full body armor that is similar to shield has had its restrictions lifted and can be used unconditionally, while the absolute defense has not changed much. A pair of black spine beetle jaws can be equivalent to 10 red beetle carapaces. As for the last new form, exploding scale armor, it is similar to the anti-injury armor in the game. It can return damage, but its own defense will also be reduced. It seems a bit useless now. After all, it can only return 50% of the damage suffered, but it reduces the defense of the red-black armor itself by 50%. However, with subsequent continuous upgrades, the anti-injury rate will definitely increase, while reducing the reduction in defense. In order to verify this conjecture, Lin Feng merged in two pairs of giant jaws and directly started the LV11 evolution, red black armor LV November 19th, red quality durability. 10/10, defense 70, variant, arm guard, unconditional, full body armor, unconditional, absolute defense, 1/1 back armor, 10/1 jua, explosive scale armor, 60% damage counterattack, defense reduced by 40%. The result of the upgrade was the same as Lin Feng expected. After the verification, Lin Feng no longer wasted materials. The defense power of up to 70 points, coupled with absolute defense, was more than enough to deal with the sudden attack of the green-winged insect. Lin Feng plans to use the remaining 8 pairs of giant jaws for the fusion upgrade of the armored RV. He will first transform the equipment bound to himself to perfection, and then continue to improve the item level. Lin Feng put the red-black armor arm guard on his hand, and then activated the full body armor form. Immediately, a large number of triangular diamond-shaped scales multiplied and replicated from the arm guard, spreading and covering the entire body of the holder. Compared to the white-quality red armor shield, the red armor fused with a giant jaw is red and black, and is mostly made of hard scales with a black texture. Not only is it tightly fitted, but it is also extremely flexible, which does not affect Lin Feng's comfortable bursts during the battle. At the same time, this scale armor is as thin as leather paper, and it is not burdensome when worn on the body, but it has a strong defensive ability. Sure enough, red quality items have made a qualitative leap compared to ordinary white items. After getting familiar with it, Lin Feng put away the red armor, returned to the armored RV, found the red armor shield on Chen Yannian, and upgraded it from LV5 to the upper limit LV9 in one go. A total of 30 yuan was spent, and the remaining 10 yuan was melted in as upgraded storages for upgrading to the red quality red-black armor. There is no need for it for the time being, because after Chen Yannian awakens her superpowers, she can play the greatest role by staying in the cab. And Lin Feng will not let her take risks. The LV9 red armor shield, combined with the form of absolute defense, is enough to deal with most dangers and emergencies. After dealing with these, Lin Feng moved the remaining 8 pairs of giant jaws into the car, and stuffed the 3 machine guns and 6,000 rounds of ammunition in the box into the trunk. These are all fusion materials for the next upgrade. What we need to do now is to brush out the remaining 9 upgrade points. Lin Feng returned to the RV, reheated the seafood and other leftovers he brought back last night on the stove, and cooked a pot of seafood porridge with rich ingredients. After finishing everything, I looked at my phone and saw that it was already past 1 in the afternoon. It was time to wake Chen Yannian up. When Lin Feng opened the bedroom door, the beautiful lady on the bed was nowhere to be seen. Instead, it was Chen Yannian, neatly dressed, walking out of the bathroom. Well, Chen Yannian blushed, stepped forward and punched the man in the chest, saying resentfully, "I didn't know how to take good care of myself. Fortunately, my physique after awakening is not bad, and I have almost recovered." Lin Feng chuckled, "That's great. Let's go out for dinner. We still have time today. Let's go to the front line again in the afternoon to explore the Zerg's expansion range." Chen Yannian sighed, thinking that Lin Feng could make a delicious lunch, but the result was just a hodgepodge. Fortunately, these high-end ingredients are of good quality, and even if they are stewed into a pot of porridge, They still taste delicious, but Lin Feng has other things that can win the favor of the beauty. When he took out the upgraded level 9 red armor shield and placed it in front of Chen Yannian, the other party was overjoyed when she learned how powerful it was and squatted under the table after eating and drinking. The two packed up their necessary equipment, went to the gas station to fill up the gas, and set off again. At this time, a fleet of vehicles of different models drove up from the small road behind the service area, connecting to the urban area of Wuhan. Leading the group was a military jeep with Qin Hu in it, and following behind were some large commercial vehicles and a luxury RV. Lin Feng frowned slightly because Qin Hu waved towards them, signaling him not to leave. When these vehicles drove into the parking lot one after another, the people who got out of they were not the engineers who built the fortress, but some photographers holding speakers, microphones, and lighting panels. This is a professional photography team. Lin Feng sighed softly. Before Qin Hu got out of the car and walked over, he had already guessed why these people came. Qin Hu spread his hands helplessly. There's nothing we can do. The big star didn't want to be disturbed, so he didn't stay in Wuhan. I thought about it and it seemed that your service area was the only one with few people and was safe, so I arranged to come here in advance. Don't worry, they'll just take a few videos. With our people here, they won't cause any trouble. Lin Feng hummed, not wanting to say anything more. Tell them not to go to the repair shop or come near my RV. The front line is full of dangers. Curiosity kills the cat. I am only responsible for the safety of tomorrow's mission. I am not a full-time bodyguard. Goodbye, I'm on a mission. After saying that, he gave the woman next to Chen Yanai and immediately understood him a look, and she controlled the armored RV to make a roar and rushed away. Looking at the RV going away, Qin Hu shook his head helplessly. At this time, the window of the luxury RV in the parking lot slowly lowered a little, revealing half of a face that was as beautiful as a fairy and stunningly beautiful. Zhang Yuner slowly took off her sunglasses. He is the powerful awakener arranged by the 13th Division, quite unique. Chapter 59, Zerg Expansion Pace, Brush Upgrade Points. Chen Yannian used her own mind to control the accelerator and brakes under her feet, while placing her hands on the steering wheel to stabilize the direction. This can not only keep you familiar with the training of your supernatural powers, but also reduce the consumption of mental energy. Before leaving the service area, she took a quick glance through the rearview mirror and saw a mysterious woman half exposed behind the window of the luxury RV. Thanks to the awakening that has been upgraded to LV10, Chen Yannian, who has just stepped into the first level, has excellent eyesight and can see the details of people's faces within a distance of 100 or 200 meters, so she quickly recognized that the woman wearing sunglasses was the popular national goddess, Kang Yuna. This was the first time that Chen Yannian had met such a top star in real-life agency, and Zhang Yuner is such a super top star even media capitals have to rush to provide her with various resources. Although Lin Feng had mentioned this to her, Chen Yannian still felt a little surprised that she could have such close contact with a big star right at her doorstep. In particular, Zhang Yuner is even more beautiful in real life than on the screen. Disgusted. On the way to the suburbs of Haicheng, Chen Yannian, who had been holding back all the way, finally couldn't help but speak after Lin Feng finished the trunk matter. Did you see the woman in the RV? The window was rolled down at the end, revealing half of her face. After leaving the service area, Lin Feng placed the 3 machine guns in the trunk on the second floor observation deck. Normally it is covered with a tarpaulin. During combat, the base bracket is raised and the armored cover on one side is opened, so that full coverage rapid-fire attacks can be carried out around or above the head. This was actually specially prepared for Chen Yannian to increase the RV's attack capability, transforming it from an auxiliary vehicle to a multifunctional combat vehicle, greatly improving its combat potential. Lin Feng also checked them out specifically. These machine guns were red quality offensive items and had a certain degree of wear and tear, having just experienced the baptism of war. Although Qin Hu agreed to provide Lin Feng with heavy weapons, it was impossible for him to directly transfer new equipment from the arsenal. The front battlefield could not be lost in the Battle of Wuhan, so the old equipment had to be sent over secretly. Fortunately, any item in Lin Feng's hand can be restored to its original state, and the wear and tear can be cleared after just one upgrade. These 3 battle-hardened machine guns have fired at least thousands of shells. Even if they kill one black-backed insect for every 100 shells, it would be enough evolution points for an upgrade, so Lin Feng just moved his hands and upgraded the 3 machine guns from LV10 to LV11, making them all look brand new. Unfortunately, apart from increasing some damage, It does not upgrade with additional attributes like bound equipment. Many special functions cannot be reproduced on items and require system support. Even if they can be realized, a certain price must be paid. For example, the former red armor shield, both the shield armor form and the absolute defense form, require consumption of upgrade reserve. Some restrictions can only be lifted by upgrading to higher level. The attributes of the machine guns were regrettable, but this was within Lin Feng's expectations. Looking at the 3 level 11 machine guns, which only had 60 damage, it took 2 or 3 precise shots to kill a black-backed worm. However, Lin Feng was not disappointed, and instead came up with a plan. After completing the preparatory work, Lin Feng wiped his oily hands with a rag and returned to the cab. Chen Yannian suddenly asked about the incident before departure. Lin Feng was stunned for a moment and replied directly, "Because of the trouble, especially a woman like this who you can't mess with is even more troublesome. I am a person who is very afraid of trouble. When I first met you, I was afraid that it would be troublesome to bring you along. Fortunately, you proved with your actions in the end that although it is of no great use, it will not cause any trouble, so I took it with me." "And this female star, Zhang, what is her name?" Lin Feng explained while observing sides of the road. Chen Yannian reminded, "Zhang Yuner, the top star in the Federation, is also a world-class superstar. It's mainly because her face is so beautiful without any plastic surgery. Now many female celebrities or people who love beauty are getting microplastic surgery based on her face shape." Lin Feng shook his head. "This is not a question of beauty. In these chaotic times, beauty cannot make a living. There are so many powerful people in Heicheng, but their lives are worthless in one day. Even if they manage to escape, what good will they do without Heicheng? This is an era where strength is respected, and as the pace of alien Zerg invasion accelerates, this trend will become more and more obvious. We need to develop as quickly as possible, instead of wasting time trying to please some big shot, unless this matter can provide definite help, like Hu Fei's business and Qin Hu's friendship. Otherwise it is a useless waste. Don't be fooled by the packaging filter of the peaceful era. If you work harder in the future, the world-class superstar of the future may be called Chen Yannian." After listening to Lin Feng's explanation, Chen Yannian nodded seriously, as if thinking about something. After abandoning her previous ideas and concepts, she couldn't help but feel a little secretly happy in her heart, because Lin Feng treated other women equally, which could make her position more solid. Apparently ability is more important than looks, and spread your glorious deeds. After adjusting her mindset, Chen Yannian straightened her attitude, stood on the same side as Lin Feng, and concentrated on driving. Soon, 40 kilometers after leaving the service area, Lin Feng discovered traces of the Zerg. In the green woodlands outside the emergency lanes on both sides, wormholes dug by red beetles appeared one after another. This group of low-level worker insects dig almost all night long, sparing no effort to expand the Zerg's living space. Even the efficiency improved by humans through industrialization cannot match their speed. After driving another 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers away from the toll station, they both saw a large number of red beetles appearing on both sides of the road, eating the grass and trees. In just 24 hours, they had swept through a large area behind them, leaving behind only barren land with no grass. At this speed, the Zerg will be able to dig the underground wormhole tunnel to the outskirts of Wuchen within 10 days. By then, you will be able to see swarms of insects on high-rise buildings in the city, roaming around the edge of the city. Just like what Lin Feng and the others are facing now, a small patrol team consisting of 20 black-backed insects. They suddenly appeared on the highway and discovered each other's existence at the same time as the RV. Following Lin Feng's instructions, Chen Yannian decisively turned around and at the same time controlled the god-level pistol in her left hand, aiming at the group of black-backed insects that suddenly appeared, and poured bullets at them. The level 40 god-level pistol had a damage of only 9. The bullets hit the black spine worms, sparking a shower of sparks. Neither the extremely fast bullets nor the flying shrapnel could cause any effective damage to them. Instead, it will arouse the ferocity of the black-backed insect. After confirming the degree of danger posed by the enemy, a swarm of black-backed insects, led by several large soldier insects above level 13, quickly attacked the armored RV. Killing all invaders within the territory is an instinct engraved in the genes of soldier insects. While Chen Yannian was reacting, Lin Feng came from the cab to the second-floor observation deck. Seeing the swarm of black-backed insects chasing after him, he smiled. But he did not pull out the level 16 machine gun at his waist, which was already causing overflowing damage, but instead raised a level 11 ordinary machine gun in front of him. After confirming that there were no green-winged insects hovering overhead, Lin Feng aimed through the scope at the late-stage soldier insects in the front row of the black spine insect swarm, specifically aim at their limbs and fire decisively. 60 points of damage, enough to penetrate the sharp legs black-backed insects that were chasing them relentlessly, all fell on the road because it has not completely died. It will not attract other insect swarms to come and check in a short period of time. Then Lin Feng returned to the cab and directed Chen Yan'an to drive the level 12 armored RV to crush the black-backed insect that was crouching with a seriously injured leg along the way. Upgrade points required to upgrade to LV-13 RV. The moment is here, can't get away even if I run back. I went back to my hometown to take care of some things during the New Year's Day. I can only update 2 chapters a day. I will update the article immediately after finishing it. Chapter 60, A Great Harvest, RV Upgrade. With the roar of the armored RV's engine, its speed accelerated to hundreds of kilometers within 100 meters, and with its sharp and solid triangular spikes, it slammed heavily into the injured black-backed insect that fell to the ground in front of it. When she stepped on the accelerator pedal to the bottom, Chen Yan'an gradually realized why Lin Feng ordered her to do so. It is most likely for further upgrading of the RV. She has formed a certain binding relationship with the RV and can feel changes settle in the RV. For example, every time a black-backed beetle is killed, the power of the RV will increase slightly. Although the improvement was not much and was fleeting, it could not escape her keen mental perception. Considering the items in Lin Feng's hand, especially the small pistol with exaggerated power, the conditions for using his special powers should be the same as those for insecticidal enhancement. A certain number of insects need to be killed before the shape of an object can be transformed. This is easy to guess some deviations in the specific details, but Chen Yan'an won't ask too many questions. Having worked as the boss's assistant for more than a year, she knows exactly what to ask and what to say. The ability to grasp the sense of proportion is also an important reason why Chen Yan'an was able to survive. As the RV crushed one black-backed insect after another, some of the insects were smarter and were able to dodge before the triangular spikes on the front of the car hit them. Lin Feng didn't care about their escape from death. The final outcome was death anyway. The sooner they died, the better off they would be. They could also avoid long-term painful torture. What really concerned him was the wear and tear on the front of the armored RV, which came from the giant jaws of the LV-14 black-backed beetle. Although it was harder than the LV-14 black-backed beetle after being modified, it could not withstand continuous impacts. This was because Lin Feng let the black-backed worm lie down and be crushed to death, rather than a normal collision between the two sides. In that case, the relative speed would exceed more than 200 yards, and even a tank would not be able to withstand it. The current situation is the best condition that Lin Feng can provide. He uses the RV's front end's damage of up to 80 points to harvest the remaining black-backed insects. Chen Yan'an saw many bugs hiding away and couldn't help but ask, "Need to reverse and hit it again?" Lin Feng shook his head. At present, he only needed to kill at least 8 of them. He kept an eye on the data panel of the RV. As long as the upgrade point reached 10, he would stop the car immediately and capture the living insects. Feng reached out and patted Chen Yan'an on the shoulder. The strong sense of frustration brought by each collision made both of them tremble in their hearts. He needs his woman to stay calm soon. The armored RV that had crashed along the way successfully killed the 8th black-backed worm black-backed insect away. Fortunately, the speed was reduced by half, and the insect flew 5 or 6 meters away, still alive. After completing the primary goal, Lin Feng stood up, opened the car door and jumped out. A layer of black and red armor appeared on his body, and the red armor was directly activated. Turn the car around first and move forward at idle speed. I'll follow behind and place the live insects. The LV-16 machine gun in his hand, but switched to guard-level pistol mode at this moment. The power of the machine gun is too great, and it can easily kill the already seriously injured black-backed worm with one shot. Once the bug dies, its value will depreciate several times. The guard-level pistol has a basic damage of only 40, and after penetrating the black spine beetle's armor, the damage it can cause is at most 20 to 30, which can accurately control the opponent's remaining blood volume. It only takes a dozen shots to break the remaining limbs faster than chopping with a knife. After dealing with the 2 black-backed insects, Lin Feng skillfully tied them up, packed them, and threw them into the open trunk. Chen Yan'an looked at the rearview mirror, maintained a low speed, and cooperated with Lin Feng's capture pace. Soon, one after another, the surviving black-backed insects, after narrowly escaping the impact of the RV, were eliminated by Lin Feng and dismembered and captured alive because they did not have time to run off the highway. The remaining 12 black-backed insects were successfully captured. Each one was 2.5 meters long and more than 1 meter wide, almost filling the expansion space of the LV-12 armored RV. Lin Feng looked at the full trunk, closed the door with a smile, and hoped that the next upgrade would give him the same special attributes as the legendary pistol. Otherwise, if there is a bumper harvest in the future and there is no place to load the goods, you will suffer huge losses. Thinking of this, Lin Feng returned to the driver's seat. Chen Yan'an looked in the rearview mirror and saw the 8 black-backed insects that she had hit and killed. Lin Feng had not removed the pair of giant jaws from them, so she reminded them, "Don't you want those materials anymore?" Lin Feng glanced at the timer on his phone. 8 minutes had passed since they encountered the group of black spine insects. Although they could squeeze out the last value of the black spine insects with a little more effort, but it is not necessary just for some giant jaws. He had to risk being discovered by the blue-winged insects in the sky and surrounded by the army of black-backed insects. It's not a war period now, and there's no one on the front line to help Lin Feng attract fire, so it's not worth the risk. Besides, these materials can be obtained from Qin, who being cautious is the excellent quality that helped Lin Feng survive. Even with the help of an upgraded system, others may not be able to develop as quickly and steadily as he does. This time, we were able to capture 12 live insects at one time, which is twice as many as last time. It is already a good harvest, and we don't even need the red beetle to add icing on the cake. Just go, don't stay, Lin Feng replied, and Chen Yan'an stepped while stepping on the accelerator and driving away from the battlefield at high speed. On the way back, after listening to Lin Feng's explanation, Chen Yan'an finally realized what was going on. Chen Yan'an was used to being safe by Lin Feng's side and didn't realize that danger was approaching. Now she remembered that they were in the heart of the Zerg. She was still frightened and increased her speed a bit. The return journey was smooth, perhaps because the remains of the black-backed beetles hanging on the triangular spikes on the front of the car scared away the swarm of red beetles on the road. React in time and died tragically under the solid tires of the armored RV. After a crisp crunch, it turned into a pool of two-dimensional bugs. We successfully returned to the service area, and the armored RV with a hideous and terrifying appearance attracted a lot of attention. Even outside the mall's rest building, the construction workers on the site cast looks of surprise and envy respectful of Lin Feng's return. After parking the RV next to a remote repair shop, before Lin Feng got out of the car, he saw a group of filming crews holding camera equipment, wanting to come over to catch a glimpse of her. Although they were following Kang Yuna's professional team, as journalists themselves, they couldn't help but want to get new and first-hand information. The news about the Zerg now has so much traffic that everyone is paying attention to it 24 hours a day. Even Zhang Yuner, a top giant, has to come and take advantage of the popularity. If we could interview such a legendary awakener, it would definitely set the internet on fire today. In their eyes, this is not only an opportunity to get rich quickly, but also a godsend opportunity for career advancement. However, the soldiers who were sent to protect them stopped them and refused to let them go. Words like "this is not their filming responsibility" and "Mr. Lin doesn't want to be disturbed" could not stop his eager heart. It was not until Zhang Yuner and the luxury RV gave the order that they calmed down a little and left reluctantly. When Lin Feng saw this scene, his expression turned cold. The trouble that I had been prepared for finally came. What the filming team did at this moment confirmed Lin Feng's inner worries. They are just a bunch of annoying people. At present, it is impossible for Lin Feng to accept any interviews or reveal any gossip. Firstly, he didn't want to be a wedding dress for others, and he didn't want to attract the attention during his developmental stage. Things in private that could not be seen. Whether it is the live insect business, the personal connections behind Qin Hu, or his upgrades to the RV, none of them can be leaked. But Lin Feng also knew that this group of paparazzi would never give up, just like a dog will never stop eating shit. And tonight, we have to upgrade the armored RV, and these live insects have to be transported out as soon as possible. Just as Lin Feng was thinking about how to deal with this group of paparazzi, his eyes caught a glimpse of the scenery on the other side of the construction site. Several familiar faces appeared in the field of vision. Lin Feng's mouth corners slightly raised. A solution to the problem came to mind instantly. It is more comfortable to update at noon. Chapter 61 Lin Feng LV-16, External Recruitment Interview. This massive project mobilized almost all the young and strong refugees, while the women took charge of the construction site logistics, such as cleaning, washing clothes, cooking, and relaxing the body to relieve the fatigue of the day. And this is almost a best way out for the lower-class refugees. Following the tide of escape, many of them will die along the way. Some will starve to death due to malnutrition, some will fall behind due to losing their means of transportation, and too many will die of unnatural deaths. Only those who have experienced it will understand the difficulties and darkness along the way. Even if you finally reach a safe area and survive by chance, you will be thinly shaved and end up living on the streets penniless. Therefore, the importance of building a bunker defense line includes using work for relief as a means to save refugees. On the other hand, a large number of the 1 million workers who stayed behind were able to participate in the watch and battle on the spot and provide logistical support to the soldiers in the bunkers, such as responsible for transporting ammunition, rescuing the wounded, etc. The top brass of the 13th Division believed that most of the young men among them would actively sign up to join the army after being inspired by the sense of responsibility and especially encouraged by the promotional video that was being prepared. Participate in this war to save humanity. This step-by-step approach, with just a little bit of interest and promises, is far more effective than forced conscription. Otherwise, the top leaders of the 13th Division would never agree to let an actress come to the front line, and even specially dispatch a team of awakeners to protect her safety. Even if Zhang Yuner has a strong background in the federal capital, it is impossible for her to extend her influence to the 13th Division, which is thousands of miles away. Especially when it comes to life and death, the status of the generals with real power on the front line is becoming increasingly high. So Lin Feng knew very well that he could not get rid of this trouble for the time being. The appearance of Zhang Yuner is not only due to her own influence on public opinion, but more importantly, the will of the top leaders of the 13th Division, and even the entire federal army, is behind her. It was so embarrassing that Qin Hu had to lose face and repeatedly asked for his help. Although he couldn't refuse the protection mission, it didn't mean that Lin Feng would indulge them. But he couldn't do anything, at least not openly. Once these paparazzi hold a grudge against you, I wonder how many disgusting rumors they will make up. They can say black is white, but they also prefer to say white is black, so Lin Feng needs some people who have nothing to do with him but can be trusted. As he was watching and thinking, the construction workers on the bunker site nearby caught his attention because Lin Feng saw several familiar faces. They were Shenji and the group of young students under his command. They are all over 16 years old, but have not graduated from high school. After following Lin Feng and gaining some benefits, joined this huge project and finally appeared in front of Lin Feng. It must be a special fate, so Lin Feng planned to help them again. It all depends on how much they are willing to pay in order to live with dignity. Slowly pulling up the car window, Lin Feng looked at the panel in front of him. After leveling up twice, he was already level 16, and he was only a few evolution points away from the late first level. Lin Feng, LV 16 19 horsepower 120, VT 119. SPR 118, the level 16 machine gun in your hand has an upgrade point of 6/8 after upgrading. You only need to kill 2 more black-spined insects to get a small leap and new additional attributes. So Lin Feng originally planned to leave 2 black-backed worms behind. After dealing with them in the service area, he could obtain 2 pairs of giant jaws, which would be safer than dealing with them on the spot in the Zerg hinterland because the firepower of the machine gun is overflowing. It can directly kill the black spine worm, which is much faster than peeling off and cutting out the giant jaws. But now the appearance of this group of uninvited guests makes it difficult for Lin Feng to move freely. I originally planned to kill 2 black-backed insects, which would allow me to upgrade the LV-16 machine gun and collect 10 pairs of giant jaws for the armored RV for fusion transformation. Under the current circumstances, the presence of living worms must not be exposed. But Lin Feng will not allow this group of paparazzi to hinder the already planned upgrade progress. Chen Yanyan, who was standing by, also saw the situation outside and felt that Lin Feng's words were extremely correct. She couldn't help but start to worry. Lin Feng held her hand, signaling her not to worry, he would take care of it. There were 2 layers of isolation nets on the windows of the armored RV, and no one could see Lin Feng's face clearly. In the distance knew very well who was sitting in the car, and this was why they took the initiative to sign up to be transferred to the service area. This outpost was not part of the frontal battlefield and had no connection with the 3 lines of defense. It was an ancillary project outside the fortifications. Therefore, not only was the treatment lower, but there was also no channel to join the army directly. Conditions. Priority will be given to those who have served in the military, college students, and those under 40 years old. The most important thing is that the hardest working people on the construction site can directly join the army and be sent to the rear for training. Not only are their food, clothing, housing and transportation all covered, but they can also receive allowances. In fact, there is no conflict between them. If you join the army, you have to fight the Zerg in the fortress, and if you want to survive, this line of defense must be impregnable. Anyone who dares to slack off on the construction site will be the first one to be punished by his colleagues. The person responsible for formulating these rules is very smart, but to Shenji and others, these rules are like an insurmountable wall because of their age and immature development. Their physical strength is naturally weaker than that of adults in their 20s. Especially since they spend a lot of time sitting in high school. They are actually in a sub-healthy state and cannot withstand the hard work on the construction site, especially because the people around them think they are young and easy to bully. They assign them all the dirty and tiring work as well as dangerous steps. Because of Shenji's level 3 enhancement, the manager above him did not dare to push his limits. However, many of his companions were already injured or exhausted and bedridden recently at night. The looks these people give the girls in the camp are becoming more and more aggressive. He knew that if they continued to sit and wait for death, their small group of people who huddled together for warmth would sooner or later fall apart. He discussed with Zhang Liang and decided to take the initiative to apply for a transfer to the service area and then find another way out. The purpose of coming here is naturally not to die of exhaustion on the construction site, but to find that powerful awakener to see if he can give him some help again. After all, Lin Feng's strength has been deeply engraved in the minds of each of them. Now that they have experienced the triumphant return of the armored RV with their own eyes again, the excitement in their hearts has already been expressed in words, and they are reluctant to take their eyes off in admiration for a long time. Until the foreman in charge here called them aside. Shenhe looked up and saw that the contractor was pointing to the former administration office, the place that had rejected them. There's a big guy there who needs to find a group of young people. Go try your luck over there, it's better than suffering here. I heard that you have been strengthened 3 times, you are quite a character. Why do you stay here? The contractor chewed betel nut and spat out a mouthful of thick phlegm. After completing the task assigned by the woman, he left. Shenji and the others looked at each other, and finally took a step doubtfully, arriving at the door of the hotel with trepidation in their hearts. They brushed the dust and mud off their hands, wiped their dirty faces as clean as possible, and then walked in. Then he saw the woman from the recruitment office sitting at the workbench, talking on the phone. She hung up the phone, slowly stood up, and took Shenhe and others to the previous recruitment registration office. In addition to filling out forms and providing basic information, you also need to go through an interview. Of course, this is only a screening for low-level enhanced people. For awakened people like Lin Feng, it's just a matter of a word, and Han Yuxin has to take the initiative to help him handle these processes. The familiar interview scene made Shenji and the others nervous again. Perhaps this was a precious opportunity, but if they were rejected again, it would undoubtedly make those who were already worried lose all hope. Don't be nervous. This is not an interview for the administration. This is an additional appointment. It's like a temporary worker who is no longer in the file, but the treatment is still the same. How about it? Are you interested? Han Yuxin recalled what Lin Feng had told her and smiled. Shenhe, who was in the lead, nodded and swallowed. Okay, for the following questions, I hope you will answer and choose truthfully. Don't lie or exaggerate. The first thing, have you ever killed anyone? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Robbery, Zhang Yun'er's Invitation. When Shenji heard the first question, his pupils shrank sharply, and his companion beside him also trembled slightly. Han Yuxin didn't react to this. She still maintained a faint professional smile and waited for the people in front of her to answer. Shenji swallowed his saliva. His brain, which had become rusty due to long-term repetitive work, started working frantically at this moment. Tried to find the best answer. Yuxin's eyes, so the question had changed from whether he had killed someone to whether he should admit to killing someone. And they certainly killed people. And it was just yesterday. The group of men from the camp next door broke into their tents in the middle of the night and tried to commit violence against the girls in the team. React was Zhang Liang. Having been strengthened once, she still had some strength to resist the group of crazy people who broke in the dark. The terrified screams quickly woke up the sleeping Shenji. In the melee in the dark night, 1 man and 1 woman died among their group of 12, while the other side left 4 bodies. The smell of rust still lingers in my nose. The 5 surviving men and 4 women were all terrified, but life had to go on. Shenji knew he could no longer stay here. Even if he went to another bunker construction site, he would still be bullied and retaliated against by those people. So before things got out of hand, he threw all the dead bodies into the concrete wall pillars and melted them in. Then he found the foreman in charge and took the initiative to transfer them to the construction of the service area. This is the direct reason why they came here. Shenji believed that this was entirely out of self-defense and that the murder was justifiable. Therefore, even if he admitted it voluntarily and explained it, Han Yuxin would definitely understand. After careful consideration, Shenji finally nodded. Yes, we have killed people, but before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by Han Yuxin in front of him. Okay. Next question, if you are required to continue killing people now, can you do it? Shenji stood there in a daze, his mouth half open, not knowing what to say. It was not until a few seconds after the next question that he suddenly realized. It turns out that the other party didn't care at all. The reason behind their killing was just to confirm the fact that they had killed someone. Therefore, the next question already foreshadowed the other party's purpose of recruiting several of them. Yuxin put away her smile and became more serious. Last question, who are you working for? Shenji stared at Han Yuxin for more than 10 seconds and answered, we are homeless, without shelter, and working just to survive. Han Yuxin nodded with satisfaction. Okay, congratulations to everyone for joining us successfully. Now go upstairs to the hotel box, clean yourself up, and get some sleep. There are some canned food left in there, so help yourself. In the evening, I will notify you to gather for the first mission. Upon hearing that they had successfully passed the interview and had a place to stay, everyone cheered for joy. Only Shenji had a heavy face and did not show much joy. He was well aware of the price to be paid behind this. He slowly turned around and followed his companions to the box upstairs. He saw Zhang Liang's expression, which was also a little unnatural, and her eyes were full of anxiety noisy. But Lin Feng and his companions, sitting in the RV, were enjoying the quiet afternoon. Chen Yan'an changed into her everyday home clothes, cool shorts and a tank top, and then tied an apron on, and made a sumptuous dinner for the 2 of them. The reason for eating early was that they would need to go out on another mission at around 5 or 6 o'clock when it was getting dark, and deal with the 12 black-backed insects in the trunk as soon as possible. During the meal, Chen Yan'an suddenly mentioned that Lin Feng's response plan still felt inappropriate. They are just students. Do they have such strong psychological qualities to just do it? Lin Feng shrugged and said with certainty, in order to survive, people can give up everything, and the first step into this cruel game is the end of childhood. Obviously, when their numbers get smaller, it means they've had this experience before. Don't worry, even if they are useless, I have informed Hu Fei and made backup plans. We use them only for future convenience. We can't rely on Hu Fei for everything. We also need to have our own people. Chen Yan'an silently prayed for these students in her heart, hoping that they could take the first step smoothly. Time passed quickly. When Hu Fei sent a message that everything was ready, Lin Feng decisively asked Chen Yan'an to start the armored RV, and slowly drove out of the service area with a car full of broken limbs and blood. Before they set off, Han Yuxin had quietly arranged for Shenji and others to take a few barrels of gasoline and find 3 cars that had been abandoned due to fuel shortages on the emergency lane of the highway, restart them, and then wait quietly. They were waiting not far from the service area. According to the task given by Han Yuxin, after the hideous modified RV leaves, if any other vehicles appear on the road, they will just ram them hard and then rob them. Shenji held a gun in his hand. This was the gun Han Yuxin gave him for self-defense, but he knew the purpose of this gun. It was not to kill insects, but to kill people. However, out of caution, he prefers to use cold weapons to quietly eliminate the target, so as not to make too much noise and avoid causing more trouble. So he handed the pistol to Zhang Liang, and picked up the sharp crowbar with a curved hook and put it behind the car. Soon, when a large RV drove past the ambush site, the nervous people saw a commercial vehicle with no lights on following behind it. Go, speed up, Shenji gave the order and stepped on the accelerator first. In the car ahead, 2 cameramen were staring at the car in front nervously and excitedly, carefully bypassing the roadblock. If we sneak out, nothing will go wrong, right? If Boss Zhang finds out, the consequences will be disastrous. The companion who was driving snorted coldly. The Zhang guy is here to take advantage of the popularity. Why can't he let us have a share? Didn't I tell you that I have inside information? This guy named Lin Feng is definitely not as simple as he seems. He has a close relationship with Qin Hu. As long as we can get first-hand information behind the scenes, then what does Zhang Yuner matter to? As long as she becomes famous, isn't it better than a fixed salary? Anyway, this matter has nothing to do with her, and she can't target us. At worst, she can just quit after the filming. My companion nodded, held the camera tightly in his hand, and calmed his uneasy heart. But the next second, a car with its lights off suddenly appeared behind the car, and its speed was suddenly increased. When the business car speed was suddenly increased about to change lanes to avoid it, it hit it hard. In a flash, the commercial vehicle was caught off guard and crashed head-on into the abandoned vehicle in front of it. At the same time, the entire vehicle shifted its center of gravity and fell sideways on the road. Shenji, who was in the car behind, held the steering wheel tightly and kept his foot on the brakes until the car went out of control, spun twice, and then hit the guardrails on both sides with its rear end. The airbag hit Shenji and another person in the face. They were rescued by their companions behind them and were not seriously injured. However, the camera crew in the car in front were not so lucky. They fainted immediately. The others followed Shenji's instructions, pried open the door glass of the business car, and took away all the valuable equipment and supplies inside. After doing all this, the two people were left in the car with bloody heads to fend for themselves, so he got into his companion's car and quickly fled the scene. Shortly after they left, two explosions were heard in the distance, and then a car stopped on the side of the road where the accident occurred. It confirmed the death of the two people in the commercial vehicle before leaving. When Lin Feng came back, only 2 pairs of giant jaws were left of the 12 live insects in the car, as well as a large tarpaulin used to cover the cement on the construction site. Of course, the pistol at the waist has also been successfully upgraded to level 17. Now, what he needs to do is to put up the tarp to cover the entire RV, and then carry out the transformation and upgrade of the LV-12 armored RV. Assemble the 3 machine guns perfectly in the dead of night. When Lin Feng was in the car repair shop, preparing to start the upgrade, a director from the filming team came to the door and asked Chen Yan'an to inform Mr. Lin that their boss Zhang Yuner had some matters that required Mr. Lin to go in person. The two of them could have a face-to-face discussion. Lin Feng put down the giant jaws of the black spine insect in his hand, wiped the sticky insect juice on his hands, and looked at the director at the door with a trace of disdain in his eyes. I'm a little tired today, let her come here on her own. I stayed up all night yesterday to work and didn't get up until midnight. The update is a bit late, but here is 5K. Chapter 63, Initiative, Zhang Yuner's Superpower. Taking advantage of this time, he pulled out the portable folding table and chairs installed under the chassis of the RV and asked Chen Yan'an to make a pot of tea and prepare some snacks so that they could take a break and enjoy the moonlit night. It can both relax you and celebrate yourself as you are about to enter the late first stage and complete the armament upgrade of the RV. After today, the overall strength of Lin Feng and the other two will be improved by several levels again. Even if they face an army of hundreds of black-backed insects, they will be able to easily deal with them. Even the swarm of green-winged insects that we had been worried about before now have corresponding means to deal with them, and we will no longer be as passive as before. Chen Yan'an's superpowers, combined with the 3 machine guns, can even burst out firepower that is no less than that of a level 16 machine gun in a short period of time. Soon a pot of hot tea was prepared, accompanied by some cakes and biscuits. Sat at the table and chatted, talking about Chen Yan'an's family situation. This girl who came out of the mountains in the northwest is about to start her own legendary life. Not long after, just when Lin Feng thought that Zhang Yuner would not make any more moves, the luxury RV parked in the distance actually drove over. I didn't expect that the famous superstar Zhang Yuner would one day humble herself and take the initiative to come to negotiate. Either the 2 paparazzi who died this evening were very important, or she realized the situation and had something to ask for no matter what. When this national goddess, a top star, stretched out one of her slender legs from the side door of the RV, even though she was wearing a white silk veil that covered most of her face, Lin Feng was still stunned by her beauty that was more beautiful than if fairy Zhang Yuner wore an elegant evening outfit. The upper body was a short silk shirt with a layer of black gauze shawl on the outside. The lower body was a slim-fitting 3/4 skirt, which only exposed half of her calves. While appearing reserved and quiet, it also makes people imagine a lot when seeing the slender lines of the calves. This half-revealed feeling captures people's desire for knowledge just right. Especially when she took off her sunglasses, revealing a pair of bright and dazzling peach blossom eyes. She was extremely charming and moving, making people feel pity and want to take good care of her marks. She is born with full favorability. Even someone like Lin Feng, who hates trouble, can't help but feel a little moved when he sees her in person. No wonder Chen Yannian couldn't help but want to say a few good words for her after seeing her. Even women think that Zhang Yuner is incredibly beautiful, let alone impulsive men. There is probably no one in this world who can ignore her beauty. Lin Feng had seen the photos on the internet and the filmed movies and TV shows, but just as Chen Yannian said, the woman in front of him was much more beautiful in real life than in the movies. It seems that no camera can capture her beauty. Except for witnessing it with your own eyes, any other way of recording will have a regrettable sense of distortion. Lin Feng had never seen such a beautiful woman, and her real age seemed to be a few years younger than himself. But she already had the title of the most beautiful woman in the world. Now her unexpected arrival broke the originally peaceful late-night conversation and made the atmosphere in the repair shop suddenly become different. But Zhang Yuner seemed a little familiar. Her smiling face did not reveal much emotion. After saying goodbye to the guards behind her, she walked into the repair shop and stopped in front of Lin Feng and the others. "As you wish, here I come, Mr. Lin." The plain and gentle tone is exactly the same as in movies and TV shows, making people feel inexplicably friendly. Lin Feng replied unconsciously, "Please take a seat." Inadvertent flash of her beauty. Zhang Yuner is nearly 1.7 meters tall. Although not as tall as Chen Yannian, she is taller than most women. She has a pair of slender and plump legs, which are not inferior to Chen Yannian's. Under the light, this night outfit presents a magical semi-transparent effect. Relying on the awakened person's powerful eyesight, one can vaguely distinguish the proud figure hidden under the clothing. Zhang Yuner not only has beautiful legs, but her upper body is even more plump and well-proportioned than Zhang Yurao. Her extremely long cleavage is not noticeable because of the comfortable nightgown she wears. With such perfect proportions, her figure and appearance come together to form the most beautiful body in the world. Facing the beauty's gaze at this moment, even Lin Feng seemed a little dazed. Even Chen Yannian, who was also a woman standing next to him, did not feel the slightest bit of jealousy. She was only filled with admiration and respect. "I wonder if Mr. Lin has seen 2 staff members from my filming team. They followed Mr. Lin's RV and left the service area this afternoon. He hasn't come back yet. Maybe he got lost." After taking his seat, Zhang Yuner lifted a few strands of hair from her ears and asked softly. There was a hint of pity in her misty eyes, which made people subconsciously want to reveal their true feelings. Lin Feng opened his mouth slightly, his mind went blank, and he uncontrollably wanted to tell the whereabouts of the 2 paparazzi. But at this moment, the good habit of identification that Lin Feng has been maintained since obtaining the system finally came into play at this moment. It automatically scans and analyzes the stunningly beautiful woman in front of it. Zhang Yuner, LV7 9 horsepower 40, VT35. SPR 50 superpower awakening, mind control, charming aura, can make everything feel good about it, subtly influence the thoughts of the creatures around it, and lose the effect when you move away. Note, the host's mental state has been slightly affected. He is easily deceived unless it threatens his own interests and safety. Seeing the identification data and the final note that appeared before his eyes, Lin Feng suddenly stopped talking. He had completely woken up, and at the same time, he had seamlessly returned to his previous expression of admiration and desire. So as not to alert the enemy and arouse suspicion. And he has to deal with such a dangerous woman alone, and Chen Yannian would easily be exposed here. Lin Feng then raised his hand and slowly pressed the shoulders of the woman beside him, waking her up while speaking in a calm tone. "It's getting late. Miss Zhang has something important to discuss. Go back to the RV and rest. Leave this to me." Maybe it was because Lin Feng's words were more steady and powerful, making people believe him. Or maybe Chen Yannian already believed in his orders without a doubt. After Lin Feng spoke, even though she hadn't come to her senses yet, Chen Yannian still believed in his words, swallowed the words she wanted to explain, got up from the chair, and returned to the RV. At this quiet moment in the night, even the figures on the construction site are gradually becoming few and far between. The surface area is not a frontal battlefield, so its importance and priority are not that high. So after 7 or 8 o'clock, all the workers clock out and do not work in 2 or 3 shifts all. The person she was facing now might very well be the most powerful awakener in the entire Jiangnan province. Truth. The recorder in her hand and the camera on the back of the window of the luxury RV behind her will record direct evidence of Lin Feng's crime. Although the Federation's attitude towards the awakened ones is very ambiguous, it even intentionally favors and gives preferential treatment to them. But as officials, they cannot openly publicize a criminal. As long as they use their influence and fan the flames, Lin Feng will either choose to cooperate obediently and let them manipulate him, or be abandoned by the 13th Division. Even the Management Bureau will not be able to continue to use Lin Feng openly. However, the basis for achieving all this stops at the last step, or even a sentence. Lin Feng sent the woman beside him away, then pulled out the pistol from his waist, placed it on the table, and pointed the black muzzle at the stunning beauty in front of him with sweaty palms. But the next moment, the words that came out of his mouth were not what Jiang Yuner expected. Instead, it makes it feel like it is falling into an icy cave. In an instant, Lin Feng put his hands together, looked at the beauty in front of him, and said calmly, "You are really talented. I rarely see someone awaken psychic abilities directly after only strengthening 7 times. It's a pity that you are too arrogant. If you can complete the final stage of awakening, perhaps I will really be bewitched by you." "Oh, right. The purpose of your coming here is to awaken completely." Chapter 64, Admit Your Mistake and Surrender. LV-17 Howitzer. Beautiful women are always dangerous, and the more beautiful a woman is and still single, the more dangerous she is. This is the realistic understanding that Lin Feng regards as the truth. He was constantly reminded to always be vigilant and have a backup plan when facing beautiful women. So he didn't tell everything to Sister Yu Rou, nor did he explain everything to Chen Yannian, who was expressing her true feelings to him. Who could have thought that this shy, gentle, and seemingly harmless beauty would awaken such a hidden spiritual power ahead of time? It is still the most difficult to detect mind control. With her stunning face that looks like a fairy, and her slender, plump and well-proportioned body, her charm value is directly raised to the highest, which perfectly matches her superpowers. If Lin Feng had not developed the good habit of being cautious first, he might not have come to his senses. After all, he only said a few words and there was no threat to his own safety. But now that he has seen through these little tricks, no matter how beautiful the woman in front of him is, she has lost that filter halo in Lin Feng's eyes, and he has temporarily suppressed his restless heart. The rational brain occupies the IQ high ground again. When the only obstacle to Chen Yannian's departure was revealed, Lin Feng chose to confront her directly. He watched the beauty in front of him tremble all over, her face pale with fear. He smiled and took his hand off the gun handle. "Shh, don't move, and don't shout. Slowly put what's in your hand on the table." Jiang Yuner swallowed her saliva. She didn't know when the other party got rid of his charm. Everything was going so smoothly before the woman next to her left just one step, or even half a step. Could it be that the handsome man smiling in front of me has been cooperating with me from the beginning? Thinking of this, Jiang Yuner became even more panicked. After the ability she was proud of did not work, her psychology defenses collapsed like a dam breaking. The slender legs that were originally crossed were now lowered as the hands moved. The beautiful legs without a trace of excess fat were tightly closed, and the muscles were tense, suppressing the tremors of the whole body. "Want to regain my sanity?" She hasn't lost yet. Even if the other party sees through her tactics, they won't dare to do anything to her. What's more, there is a camera behind her filming all the time. As long as she leaves this repair shop, she, Jiang Yuner, will still be the top superstar that the world is paying attention to. When the recorder in his hand was placed on the table, Lin Feng reached out and took it, and in front of the woman's horrified expression, he crushed it into pieces. Then he picked up the kettle and poured the woman a cup of tea. "Ms. Jiang, don't you know that you should come to negotiation with sincerity? I was lucky this time. I was easy to talk to. If I meet someone else next time, I'm afraid that the things that will be broken won't just be this little thing. Don't leave so quickly. We haven't finished talking about this yet. Of course, if you want to leave, I can't force you to stay, but tomorrow we will be filming the mission of killing the black spine insect. I think Miss Jiang should be able to have a good chat with a first-level insect. Yeah, this ability to charm the mind is really useful." The man's calm and unhurried words sounded like thunder in Jiang Yuner's ears, deafening and echoing. Not only did the other party ignore her ability to charm her mind, he also saw through all her plans. It even made Jiang Yuner wonder whether Lin Feng's awakened ability was to read minds and spy on her thoughts. But now is not the time to doubt. The man in front of her is waiting for her reply, and the kind that cannot be refused. This makes Zhang Yuna feel a little uncomfortable. In her 22 years of life, she has never experienced such an embarrassing and awkward situation, but the man's eyes were like a sharp knife, approaching his throat. Zhang Yuna gritted her teeth and said with a trembling voice, "I'm sorry, Mr. Lin. It's my fault for using my powers on you without permission. It's just that I can't control this situation. It always breaks out inadvertently." Lin Feng frowned slightly and put away his smile. An apology from an adult is not just a matter of a few words. I know you have a deep background, and you may even be the illegitimate son of some big shot, but this is the front line, facing the Zerg attack, in an environment where your life is always in danger. When things get really tense, no one cares about your background. There are so many powerful people in Heicheng, many of whom have died under the Zerg's teeth, no bones left, as lowly as rats and ants. Here, only strength can earn respect. Remember to show some respect to the awakened ones. Okay, so what can you offer me now as compensation for my nothing offense? Zhang Yun'er's whole body was hot, and her skin, as delicate as snow, secreted tiny beads of sweat. Lin Feng's low voice was like the devil's temptation, pushing her step by step into the bottomless abyss. Give her a smooth life and teach her a good lesson. After thinking it over, according to Lin Feng's words, the only thing he could offer was himself. Then Zhang Yun'er thought of some disgusting scenes, but she knew that she could not give in and agree. As a top actress and international superstar, with her status and influence, it is impossible for her to commit herself to a smug villain who is not even an officer. After struggling for a while, Zhang Yun'er said, "No offense, as compensation, I can give you my personal contact information. If you need anything in the future, just let me know if I can help you." Except, Lin Feng agreed and replied coldly, "Take care of those idiots under your command. I don't want any news about me to be included in the promotional videos and news that will be released later." Hearing the man's request, Zhang Yun'er breathed a sigh of relief, immediately promised, and made repeated assurances, even swearing a solemn oath, fearing that Lin Feng would not believe it. Man's indifferent words that frightened him. "Did I say we're done?" As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of the pistol hammer being pressed rang out simultaneously, causing Zhang Yun'er to stiffen her body and slowly turn back. Lin Feng smiled and spoke calmly, "My woman has to rest early because of your problem, so you have to take over and complete the rest of the work." Zhang Yun'er's expression changed. She didn't expect that Lin Feng didn't let her go in the end. Her tearful eyes showed determination, but her tone was a little tearful. "I said I wouldn't do that, and you agreed." Lin Feng hummed, "I won't touch you. I'll just wash your feet, give you a bath, and massage your hands and feet to soothe your muscles. If you haven't had any experience taking care of someone, then start learning from now on. If you continue to be so willful, there will be more and more opportunities like this in the future." After saying that, Lin Feng stood up and walked into the RV behind him, leaving behind one last sentence before disappearing. "You make money with your mouth. You are very eloquent, so use your eloquence to convince me." Zhang Yun'er stood there in a daze, watching Lin Feng's figure disappear into the dark door of the RV. After struggling for a few minutes, she finally made up her mind. She picked up the teacup on the table, drank it all, then walked into the RV and took off her veil. Looking at the man sitting on the sofa, he lowered his proud head with tears in his eyes. "Promise me that you will help me complete my complete awakening." Half an hour later, Zhang Yun'er put on her veil and quickly walked out of the armored RV, and hurried back to her own RV. "Really want to go this far? Maybe we'll need her help in the future." Lin Feng shrugged and looked at the new friend he had just added on his phone, the user with the online name Yun'er, and smiled happily. "Don't worry, this is just a precautionary measure. We will give them a taste of their own medicine. If you come out to fool around, you will have to pay it back sooner or later. With this thing, won't she be more obedient?" Chen Yanyan nodded. "Okay, I'll send you a few screenshots after this mission is over." Lin Feng stood up and fastened his trouser pockets, remembered to code, then he walked out of the RV and looked at the 10 pairs of black-backed insect jaws piled up on the side. Under the cover of the tarpaulin, he started the fusion upgrade of the LV-12 Armored RV LV-12/19, red quality. Upgrade points 10 out of 10. A red light shone from his body into the armored RV and the 10 pairs of clean giant jaws beside it. The next moment, the giant jaws of the black-backed worm slowly faded and disappeared, and a layer of reddish light appeared on the surface of the RV. The fine steel armor that had been fused in previously began to twist and deform, gradually taking the shape of a number of god-level pistols. Feng took off his clothes, and suddenly his eyes lit up. He didn't expect that the level 16 machine gun on his waist was being upgraded. After a long night of upgrading, in the early hours of the morning, it was finally completed. Howitzer LV-17/19, red quality upgrade .0 for 9, damage 150, effective range 6 kilometers, remaining bullets 4,000, 4,000 additional attributes, bullet recovery 1/S, space magazine 4,000 spare bullets, death I0/50 add additional attributes, choose one of the two bullet time, firepower coverage countdown 5, 4, 3. Chapter 65 Firepower Coverage, LV-13 Armed RV. Jang Yuna covered her plump chest which was heaving violently, and after filing her with mountain spring water, she quickly ran to the sink in the bathroom, rinsed her mouth left and right, and spit out the spring water. Repeatedly, until he was gasping for breath. She wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, raised her palms tremblingly, and covered her mouth with them. The tiny cracks at the corners of her mouth still slightly hurt lingering from her throat. Jang Yuna frowned, stretched out her longest middle finger, pressed it deep into the root of her tongue, and leaned over the toilet seat, trying to vomit out the filth in her stomach. Unfortunately, in order to maintain her figure, Jang Yuna has been dieting and only ate 2 apples for dinner, and her stomach is now empty. After retching for a long time, he only vomited some sticky saliva up in the corner, hugging her legs, tears streaming down her face, feeling extremely regretful. Because of her willfulness this time, she has lost too many firsts tonight and was forced to grow up. After a long time, when the regret and tears faded away, Jang Yuna reached out to wipe the tears from her cheeks, slowly stood up, stood in front of the sink, stared at her distraught self in the mirror, her eyes gradually changed from confusion to determination. She is not the kind of stupid woman who would become devastated and desperate after encountering setbacks. Over the years, the darkness she had witnessed and experienced was not much different from this time. If you walk by the river often, you will get your feet wet. It was just the first time she accidentally fell into the water, which made the always cautious Jang Yuna feel very uncomfortable and regretful. And this painful lesson and the high price she paid were enough to make her remember that man for the rest of her life. Looking at herself in the mirror, Jang Yuna felt a soreness and dull pain in her tonsils and gnashed her teeth. Wait, after I complete this mission and fully awaken, I will return all of this to you double. Outside the repair shop in the dead of night, the armored RV covered by the tarpaulin was covered with a faint red light. Lin Feng stood in the bedroom of the RV, staring at the shiny black pistol in his hand. The quality of the pistol far exceeded that of ordinary firearms. Even Lin Feng, with a physical fitness of 16 points at level 119, could feel a hint of heaviness. With a physique 12 times stronger than that of an ordinary person, Lin Feng can even lift barbell plates weighing more than 1 ton without any effort. At this moment, the gun in the palm of his hand contained energy density concentrated several times. Lin Feng was a little skeptical about its incredible weight, including the 4,000 shells in the space magazine. In this way, it does make sense, Howitzer, and then locked his eyes on the last eye-catching question that appeared. You only have 5 seconds to make your selection, otherwise one of the items will be automatically loaded randomly. Bullet time and fire coverage. These were the other 2 options left after Lin Feng chose the Eye of Death information. Fire coverage, within the effective range, indiscriminate bombardment is carried out on an area of 20 square meters. The longer the charging time, the greater the unit power. The basic damage per square meter is 10, and the charging increases the damage by 150 points per second. With an upper limit of, seeing the introduction later, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The average size of a black-backed worm is 2.5 meters wide and more than 3 meters long. Those above level 13 are more than 3 meters wide and 5 meters long. The number of first-stage, late-stage black-backed insects above level 16 is extremely rare. Lin Feng once encountered one that was 4 meters wide and 6 meters long. It's about the size of a small truck. However, the black-backed worm is relatively small in size, supported by its 2 pairs of sharp and slender legs and a pair of huge jaws in front. Just like a long-legged spider, its torso is not exaggerated. We're chasing in groups, each of them would occupy about 10 square meters, and the current firepower coverage could only bomb an area of square meters, so the maximum number of bombardments is 10. The damage per square meter is not enough. It is an instantaneous damage of 2,000 points. Although the total damage is as high as 50, at least points of damage per square meter is needed to break the black-spined worm's solid feet at present. It takes at least 3 seconds of charging to seriously injure 10 black-backed insects and make them fall to the ground. losing their combat capability compared to the Eye of Death, which can lock one target per second. It seems a bit useless. However, when facing a large army of charging black-spined insects, fire coverage can still play a role. As long as the arrival position of the insectide is predicted in advance, large-scale bombing can be carried out in an instant to block the advance of the insectide. It's equivalent to one shot being worth an artillery company. Especially since it has just been added, with subsequent upgrades, the range of firepower coverage and basic damage should be greatly improved. When the watch and blocking battle breaks out, whether you are defending the city in the bunker, or taking the initiative to fight outside the city, or even escaping and shaking off the Zerg's pursuit, fire coverage is much more useful than Death Eye. That's why Lin Feng decisively chose firepower coverage within the 5-second countdown, because in the outpost base in the service area later, what is needed is firepower improvement, and bullet time, which is biased evaluation. This is a supergun with the power of a 100mm caliber howitzer. The bullets fired have been strengthened many times, and hitting the target will cause damage within a radius of 5 meters. Kill the target and get upgrade points. Lin Feng looked at the data carefully and took a few deep breaths to calm his excitement. Previously, I focused on the consideration and added the option of additional attributes. Ignoring the basic attribute changes of the upgraded LV-17 howitzer compared to the previous LV-16 machine gun, now after reading the system evaluation, looking back at the above content, Lin Feng discovered that the basic damage of the LV-17 howitzer has increased by 30 points. Reaching a terrifying 150 points of damage. The range is also increased by 50%, and the ammunition reserve is increased by 1,000. Even the number of targets locked onto by Death's Eye increased from 30 to 50 in one go. No wonder Lin Feng felt a little heavy when holding the gun in his hand at this moment. It was mainly because the basic attributes had been improved so much. With 150 points of damage per shot, plus spare bullets, and the RVs pulling and roaming, Lin Feng even dares to fight against thousands of black-backed insects alone. He caressed the new gun in his hand lovingly, until Chen Yanyan, who had been waiting for a long time, climbed up impatiently, slowly hugged the man from behind, pressed close behind him, and reached out to hold his gun. Lin Feng then reluctantly placed the LV-17 howitzer on the bedside table, and was immediately dragged onto the bed by Chen Yanyan. The next morning, when Lin Feng woke up, the first thing he saw was the reminder that the armored RV had been upgraded and the transformation was complete. Armed RV LV-13/19, red quality upgrade points 0 for 10, damage 60, defense 80, average speed 120, cruising range 500 kilometers. Additional attributes: biological armor, defense plus 40, armor piercing head, damage plus 40, added additional attributes. Unlimited firepower, 10 gun-level pistol replicas transformed into 10 heavy machine guns, average damage 40, self-propelled artillery, 3 LV-14 machine guns, damage 100, total ammunition 6,000, bullet recovery 1/H, evaluation. After a deep fusion transformation, this RV has not only engine performance, but also defense and damage far exceeding ordinary infantry fighting vehicles. While driving on the battlefield, you can obtain upgrade points based on mileage or kills. After this upgrade, the basic attributes of the RV have not been greatly improved. Only the damage has increased by 10 points, and other data have not estimated changed much, especially the speed and mileage. Upgrade 10 pairs of black spine beetle jaws increased the damage of the armor-piercing vehicle's front end by 10 points. Combined with the basic damage, it can cause 100 points of impact damage. Lin Feng estimated that part of it was used to repair the damage left by the previous brush, otherwise it would be impossible to improve it only this much. Fortunately, he got the rewards he deserved in the areas he really cared about. 2 new additional attributes: 10 heavy machine guns with unlimited firepower, perfectly inherit the data at the god-level pistol, directly arming the RV to the teeth, and the damage supplement provided by the self-propelled artillery greatly alleviated the lack of heavy firepower. With a damage of up to 100, it can directly tear apart the army of black-spined insects and carry out crazy harvesting. Unfortunately, the ammunition was not sufficient, and it was necessary to use it sparingly during combat. With heavy machine guns as the main weapon and machine guns as the auxiliary weapon, an armed RV was born. After seeing the changes in the attribute data, Lin Feng couldn't wait to put on his pants and clothes and walked out of the RV. The biggest change to the vehicle covered by the rain cloth was that several small black spine insect jaws appeared on the armored vehicle body, and inside the pincer-shaped jaws, a pitch black, 2-finger-wide muzzle exudes a dangerous aura. After the transformation, the RV actually used the giant jaw structure of the black-spined beetle as protective armor for the machine gun port, which is indeed a very creative idea. Lin Feng turned around and returned to his original position. The 10 heavy machine guns were arranged very evenly. There is a gun inside each of the 3 pairs of large jaws on the front of the vehicle, and 1 gun is installed on each of the 4 corners of the roof on both sides, which can form a 360-degree fire coverage with no blind spots. At the same time, cross-shooting can further stack and enhance the damage. The last 3 were placed in the trunk to block the pursuing from enemies behind. In addition to these 10 heavy machine guns, a 30mm caliber machine gun with extremely high damage was set up on the observation tower. Although the muzzles were pointed in the same direction, the lookout tower was now loaded with a spinning base that could quickly rotate to any direction to unleash firepower. Therefore, the machine gun only needs to improve the shooting elevation angle and cooperate with a heavy machine gun to complete the air defense mission. Lin Feng was very satisfied with this transformation and upgrade. With such a big guy with terrifying damage, he felt safe when driving on the edge of the Zerg territory. Now everything is ready, except for Chen Yannian, who is lacking in the proficiency of using the new level 13 armored RV. Especially the coordination of these 13 guns during the battle was also a huge challenge for her. When Lin Feng returned to the bedroom of the RV, he saw the woman sleeping soundly on the bed and gradually woke up. Chen Yannian, with sleepy eyes, hugged Lin Feng's thick waist, raised her head and put her chin on his abdomen muscles, muttering, "Lin Feng, let me tell you, I had a very strange dream." Chapter 66, The Machine Soul is Delighted, Breaks Limit, Signs. Lin Feng was stunned. Late last night, after he had a long talk with Zhang Yuner, Chen Yannian, who had just recovered from her illness, couldn't wait to pull him aside for some study and discussion. It was already late at night, and for the sake of Chen Yannian's health, Lin Feng did not use his full strength at first. After all, his strong physique of 119 points was more than twice that of a woman unable to resist his passion. But what Lin Feng didn't expect was that the woman in front of him might have felt threatened by Zhang Yuner, or was jealous, and wanted to read aloud to express her inner feelings. So Lin Feng let go, and after the two of them finished reading a long novel together, Chen Yannian was so tired that she fell into deep sleep. Until now, she hugged herself and told this strange dream with sleepy eyes, "I dreamed about this car. It had a lot of weapons and guns, and I had to assemble them, just like in a construction game. Then I controlled them and placed them on the RV, 3 in the front, 3 in the back, 2 on each side, and the last 3 machine guns on the rooftop observation deck." Chen Yannian became more and more sober as she spoke. Her eyes changed from blurry and confused to clear, and then a trace of panic flashed across them. "After I finished, I realized that the machine guns and 10 pairs of giant jaws were the real materials in the RV, right? So I was confused and tried desperately to wake myself up, but my body suddenly seemed to fall into a bottomless black pool, sinking continuously until I lost consciousness." As she spoke, Chen Yannian shuddered and hugged Lin Feng's arms tightly, using a little more strength, "And I woke up not long after you left. After I woke up, my special ability was automatically activated and connected to this RV." Guess what? Lin Feng smiled. From a god's perspective, he had already figured out the situation. He raised his hand and gently stroked Chen Yannian's hair, comforting her. "I guess now this RV has become exactly the same as the transformation you made to it in your dream." Chen Yannian's panic grew even worse, and her whole body was trembling. Faced with such an incredible thing, she felt a fear of the unknown. "That's right. It turned out to be just like my dream. Could it be that it wasn't a dream, but something that happened in reality?" Having said that, Chen Yannian withdrew her hands suspiciously, pinched her own face, and after a huddle, she was still unsure. She reached out again to pull off Lin Feng's belt to confirm something more important. But he was grabbed by the man. "The results are good, then it's totally fine." Chen Yannian nodded, and suddenly realized that she seemed to have overstepped her authority. The RV was something Lin Feng was working on, and now it seemed like he had interfered and changed Lin Feng's original plan, so he quickly bowed his head and apologized. "Yes, I'm sorry, it's all my fault." Lin Feng was slightly touched. Chen Yannian had lived too cautiously in her life and developed a very self-abased and sensitive personality. She hadn't done anything wrong at the moment, but she felt that someone shouldn't interfere in her affairs, so she seemed a little panicked. Lin Feng sighed, slowly lifted the woman's chin, let her look into his eyes, and said seriously, "Don't worry, nothing's wrong. You are my woman now, so you don't have to be so cautious. You need to be careful and rigorous in doing things. But this kind of thing is not your fault, so how can I blame you, the moody type? I'm very satisfied with your subconscious manipulation. I think this brand new armed RV is also very happy. Don't let your imagination run wild now. Get up and feel its power." After saying that, Lin Feng gave a deep kiss to the woman in front of him with tears in her eyes. After a while, Chen Yannian, who had recovered her mood, took brisk steps, tiptoed, and walked into the bathroom. Lin Feng sat on the bed, lost in thought. He was the one who gave Chen Yannian the operating authority, but Lin Feng did not expect that she could directly use her supernatural powers to control the specific details of the fusion transformation. This deep binding ability even surpasses that of Lin Feng, the original owner. Logically speaking, this shouldn't happen. Especially since the opponent hasn't upgraded yet. After Chen Yannian finished washing up, she walked out of the bathroom wearing Lin Feng's loose short-sleeved shirt. Through the scanning of the identification skill, Lin Feng saw the specific data of the woman at this moment: Chen Yannian, LV 1019 horsepower 60, VT 56, SPR 61 superpower awakening, mechanical pioneer, remote control of mechanical devices within a certain range, evaluation. In the in-depth communication with the host, the woman gained a lot. The connection between the mechanical pioneer and the RV was further deepened. The machine soul was very happy. Physical fitness +1, spirit +1, breaking the limit. After seeing the changes in attribute data and evaluations, Lin Feng suddenly realized it turned out that it was because of the madness in the early morning that Chen Yannian gained many benefits from Lin Feng, even though she did not upgrade. Both her physical and mental attributes increased by 1. Is this the reward for being a diligent learner? After Lin Feng finished expressing his feelings, he focused on the last 2 words in the evaluation: breaking the limit. Originally, Chen Yannian's spiritual attribute was only 60, which had reached the upper limit of LV10. Now, after adding 1 more, it reached 61, which was above the upper limit. That's why he gained the joy of the machine soul and was able to control the specific transformation process of the RV. So far, Lin Feng has only seen a certain attribute data exceeding the level limit on one person, and that was the top actress, Zhang Yuner, who was subdued by him last night. She awakened an extremely rare psychic superpower, mind control, at level 7. The original LV7 attribute cap is only 40, but her spirit value is as high as 50, which is the upper limit of LV9. In this way, she possesses that incredible charm effect, and ordinary enhanced people cannot resist the invisible control emanating from her. But Lin Feng was thinking about more than that. If Chen Yannian and Zhang Yuner's breaking of the limit is not a low probability event that happens by chance, but a situation that can exist and be realized. For those awakeners who are stuck at LV19, the peak of the first stage, is there another way to upgrade in a curve, so that they can have some of the power of LV20 in advance, just like when Lin Feng upgraded to LV4 and LV7, the extra warm current could enhance his physical fitness in advance. In this way, the awakened ones will be able to fight against intermediate Zerg of level 20 and above. Seeing that Lin Feng was lost in thought, Chen Yannian stopped disturbing him and went to the living room outside the bedroom to prepare a sumptuous brunch. After a long time, Lin Feng's cell phone rang. It turned out to be Qin Hu calling. After the call was connected, a familiar voice came from the other end. "Hey, are you ready? We have to do the filming mission today. The elite team has already set out and will be at the service area soon. Oh, by the way, you should know the leader of the team, that is Chang Zhan, Major Chang, who chatted with you at the dinner. You can ignore Zhang Yuner, but remember to build a good relationship with him. Maybe you can invite him to stay in the service area and fight against the Zerg with you. This way, the things in your hands will be easier to talk about. One last thing. If you have the chance, remember to ask me for a few autographs from famous stars. If you can get some personal items, that would be even better." Lin Feng's eyes lit up when he heard the previous part, but the last part made him frown slightly. "You want a personal autograph? Why don't you go there yourself? With your rank of major, aren't you better than me?" Qin Hu smiled bitterly and said, "I can't help it. Who told me to be so aloof? And we are different from you. We have regulations to enforce our rules. If they complain to the inspection team or even to their superiors, I will be in big trouble. Please help me. I didn't want to do it at first, but I didn't expect that my daughter would be in a hurry to ask for it after she found out. Just think of it as a gift from you, her uncle." Lin Feng shrugged. glanced at the black gauze cloak that he accidentally left on the ground last night, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and then agreed, "Okay, I'll try my best. There aren't many things that can make me bow my head. After the task is completed, remember to send me more shells." Chen Yannian's data seemed to be written wrong in the previous part, but it has been changed and will not affect the plot. Everyone, don't skip the order, otherwise some plot will be missed. Chapter 67 Lin Feng LV-17, The Truth of the Mission. Listen carefully. Although the 13th Division would also send scouts to monitor and record the progress of the Zergs digging and encroaching, only Lin Feng dared to go deep into it and hunt for the movements of the black-backed worms. These valuable information on the distribution of soldier insects can enable the Rear Command Center to understand the actual territory of the Zerg. The red beetles have a wide range of activities and are somewhat confusing, while the black-backed beetles are directly mobilized and commanded by the Queen Mother and can better reflect the enemy's true movements, so that people can consciously prepare in advance. Wars are fought over access to information. The better you know your opponent, the greater your chances of winning. Qin Hu nodded solemnly on the other end of the phone and thanked him. Lin Feng then hung up the phone of the beef, filling your nose with aroma after being busy all night. Lin Feng's appetite was aroused. He immediately took out his chopsticks and started eating after his stomach was filled with nutritious food. Lin Feng started his own LV-17 simultaneous upgrade. He was exhausted until late last night, and the two girls took turns asking him to study hard. Lin Feng felt a little overwhelmed, so he naturally would not take the risk of upgrading himself after so many upgrades. He has also figured out a certain pattern is in good condition. The improvement effect brought by the upgrade will be most obvious. Although the attribute improvement during the upgrade comes from the influx of bound equipment, in the process of absorbing that mysterious energy, a part of one's own energy will also be consumed to promote the transformation of the body and mind. Therefore, after the enhanced person kills the black spine worm, he will not immediately enter the upgraded awakening, but will wait until the body relaxes to a good state before awakening. Now that Lin Feng was full and satisfied, he took the opportunity to upgrade himself. A powerful warm current flowed into his whole body, cleaning every tissue and every cell. Lin Feng had already gotten used to this feeling, so he didn't show any sign of abnormality. He raised a big bowl and drank the last ounce of soup in big gulps. Chen Yannian, who was standing in front of him, heard the content of Qin Hu's call, put down her chopsticks, frowned slightly, and asked, "Go find Jiang Yuner now, will she agree? Do you want me to cut out a few photos and send them to your phone so you can take them over?" Lin Feng shook his head and wiped his mouth with paper. "That thing is our trump card. It would be a bit of a waste to use it only here. Let's wait until she leaves the front line with confidence, and then send it to her. This way, she will remember us all the time." Fallen beside the sofa, table and chairs, he had accidentally discovered this when he bent down to make a phone call just now. Because it was only a thin layer, the lights were dim last night, and Jiang Yuner left in a hurry, so no one noticed. Picking it up and holding it in the palm of your hand, this thin layer of black gauze has a mysterious and special texture that can make the woman wearing it look more charming and mature. Chen Yannian took the gauze from Lin Feng's hand, untied the apron tied at the back of her waist, put the black gauze shawl on her shoulders, then turned around on the spot and lay in front of Lin Feng. "How is it? Does it look good?" Lin Feng raised the corners of his mouth slightly and lightly seriously. In the chorus with herself, Chen Yannian has transformed from a tall, black, straight, mature lady to a young mature woman. Especially now that she is covered with a tulle, the semi-transparent feeling makes her even more mysterious and seductive. Wear one on the bed later. This one seems a little dirty on top. It's a good opportunity to give it back to Jiang Yuner. Lin Feng had sharp eyes and saw that there were a few white marks on the chest of the black gauze, which affected the senses a little. Chen Yannian exclaimed, quickly took off the veil and threw it to Lin Feng. "Why don't you wash it and give it back?" Lin Feng shook his head, threw away the veil on his face, and pulled Chen Yannian into his arms. "What do you know? This is the effect we want." After a moment of tenderness, Lin Feng, wearing a short-sleeved shirt and shorts, walked out of the RV and came to the outside of the repair shop. At this time, the construction site was in full swing, and a concave pentagonal outpost was built around the former shopping mall rest building. Lin Feng knew that this kind of fortress had a special name, which seemed to be called Bastion. With the popularity of hot weapons, it shone brightly on the battlefield. Because of its protruding structure, it can use multiple aspects to expand the attack range and achieve crossfire coverage, especially in defensive blocking battles. It can perfectly exert the maximum killing effect of thermal weapons. Qin Hu made such arrangements, probably intending to rely on this to recreate the original miracle. The reason for doing this is naturally because of Lin Feng's super bullet ability. As long as it can help on the front battlefield at critical moments, divert the attention of the Zerg, and resolve several crises, it will definitely be worth the money. At this moment, the specific framework of the outpost has been built, and all that remains is the pouring of the concrete mold. Lin Feng estimated that it was about 15 meters high, and the wall was slanted upward at a certain angle. It would be quite difficult for the swarm of insects to climb over the wall and break into the base. After getting a general understanding of the construction of the base, he held a small gift bag containing a tool shawl that the female star had left behind last night. Slowly walking towards the parking lot opposite, where the vehicles of the filming team were parked, the luxury RV where Jiang Yuner lived was parked in the middle. As Lin Feng appeared, the filming staff put down their work and stared at him closely. To say that I'm not nervous would be a lie. After all, yesterday afternoon a truckload of insect debris broke into the service area, scaring. As long as you ask around a little, you will definitely know how terrifying the owner of the modified RV is. Some people said that he could deal with hundreds of black-backed insects by himself, and the successful escape of the 13th Division was due to his success in diverting the attention of the Queen Mother. Some people also said that he would attract many black-backed insects and was born unlucky. Almost none of the insect hunting teams and awakened people who went out with him survived. In short, various rumors have been spread in recent days, and they are very plausible and magical. But the only thing that remains unchanged in various versions is the unquestionable power of this young awakener. Seeing him slowly approaching, not only the filming team in the parking lot looked nervous, but the enhanced soldiers in charge of surveillance and guard in the periphery also clenched their guns, with sweat on their palms. Lin Feng walked up to their captain, smiled, and said directly, "I am familiar with your Lieutenant Li Ran. I came here to deliver something to that famous star. She accidentally left it when she came to discuss the mission with me yesterday." The captain seemed a little embarrassed. After all, without Li Ran's direct order, if he let them go without permission, it would be all his responsibility if went anything wrong. Seeing this, Lin Feng patted his shoulder. "We are all wearing leather. If you are in trouble, please go and inform her. If Miss Zhang agrees, it will not be a big deal for us, am I right?" The captain's eyes lit up when he heard this. She hesitated for a few seconds and then spoke through the curtains. "Let him come over, and you guys get closer." After last night's experience, Jiang Yuner had to be extremely cautious when facing Lin Feng. "Last night, I was careless and lost a battle. I wanted to use mind control to secretly capture Lin Feng and use him for my own purposes, but I didn't expect that I would end up losing more than I gained and was instead pinned down by the other party. Because she was in the wrong first, and Lin Feng made vague threats behind her back, and it was late at night and no one was around. Under the blessing of multiple factors, Jiang Yuner's psychological defenses collapsed, and she was finally forced to surrender. Now it is broad daylight and the world is clear. Although Jiang Yuner is a little scared, the dozen or so filming staff and a dozen soldiers armed with live ammunition in front of her give her the courage to face it again. They were all controlled by him, and as soon as he screamed, they would rush out of the RV, preventing Lin Feng from making further advances like he did last night. At present, Lin Feng has become her inner demon. Jiang Yuner knows very well that only by facing this obstacle will she have a chance to defeat the inner demon in the future. When she mustered up her courage, opened the door, and let Lin Feng walk into her RV, the smiling young man in front of her was carrying a small jewelry bag. "Look, I'm here to give you a gift." Seeing Lin Feng casually put the bag on the table, Jiang Yuner didn't care too much. She leaned next to the coffee machine and picked up a cup of freshly squeezed hot coffee. Today she was wearing a warm-colored high-neck sweater. The elastic and tight fabric wrapped around her upper body, making her look mature and conservative while also showing off her graceful curves. She feels like the beautiful lady next door. "What are you doing here?" "Right, I'm only responsible for the safety issues behind the scenes. If you get into any trouble, I can still rescue you, and this kind of deviation is likely to occur." Hearing about catching live insects, Jiang Yuner put away her indifferent expression. She knew that Lin Feng was professional in this area, more professional than those soldiers, so she asked back, "Why? There are only a few red beetles and a black-backed beetle. Can't even the 13th Division handle them?" Lin Feng shook his head. It's because of the number of people. They sent an elite team. And most of them are in the late first stage. If there are only 2 or 3 people, then it won't be a big problem. But if there are too many awakened people, it will definitely attract the attention of the Queen Mother. Sometimes the danger comes not only from the ground, but also from the sky and underground. As he said, Lin Feng sat down on the sofa and stretched out his hand to shake the woman in front of him. Is the most terrifying. You should understand that when the real danger comes, you can't control others with your little charm ability to fight against the Zerg for you. Those elite teams in the late stage of the First Order, even the higher-ups can't force them to do anything, let alone sacrifice themselves for a playboy. Zhang Yuner frowned and thought for a while, and soon realized the deep meaning of Lin Feng's words. You mean, this so-called elite team is not the original team sent to protect me and complete the mission? They have their own purpose, and I'm just a byproduct? Lin Feng snapped his fingers. Excellent, you are a smart woman, so, you should know what to do. Zhang Yuner bit her lower lip, lost in thought, and the coffee in her hand gradually cooled down. Tell me, what else do you want? Anything, except not going to bed. Lin Feng spread his hands. What do you think I am? Am I the kind of person who takes advantage of others' misfortunes? I'm just the man behind you. I came here with sincerity this time. It seems that you don't know how important this sincerity is. As he spoke, Lin Feng pursed his lips and pointed to the small jewelry bag on the table. Zhang Yuner frowned slightly, put down her coffee cup, walked slowly forward, and looked at a bag that she had been ignoring. Wait until her eyes catch a glimpse of what's inside, then take it out and check it out. The part of the black gauze shawl covering her chest had some transparent lumps left on it, and Zhang Yuner's face immediately turned red with shame and indignation. But when she saw Lin Feng's half-smile, she felt scared again. How could I be so careless as to leave behind such important evidence after last night's absurdity? This rather mysterious black gauze cape is purely hand-woven and is one of a kind in the world. Paired with her white silk veil, it highlights her temperament. This is an outfit that Kang Yuna likes very much, and she often wears it to large evening parties. So it is also widely spread. If Lin Feng took it out and made it public, it would directly destroy the career that Zhang Yuner had worked hard for her whole life. You? Seeing the stunned woman pointing at him, Lin Feng smiled slightly and looked around the small-time layout of the car. He stood up and walked to the bookshelf nearby, found a few best-selling positive energy junk books, and threw them on the table. I need your autograph. My colleague's daughter wants it. Zhang Yuner swallowed her saliva, did not dare to delay, took the pen, and quickly signed the preface on the cover. Seeing the woman's well-behaved appearance, Lin Feng nodded with satisfaction, and then saw a pair of exquisite earrings on the side of her face. This thing is good, let's pack it up too. Zhang Yuner followed his gaze and touched her ear, saying with some difficulty, this is a product endorsed by an international jeweler. A pair is worth hundreds of thousands. Lin Feng asked back and hummed in a somewhat unhappy tone. Zhang Yuner quickly took off the earrings, put them in a small box, and put them into the jewelry bag that Lin Feng gave her. Seeing the other party nod and reveal a very satisfied expression, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. However, Lin Feng nodded with satisfaction, not because the woman was obedient, but because of the personal data that appeared in front of him. The LV-17 upgrade had been completed. Lin Feng, LV-17 19 horsepower 130, VT 130, SPR 130. Although this upgrade did not bring any additional changes, the 3 basic attributes have all reached the upper limit, which means that they only need to be increased a little more to break the limit. As long as you maintain this good condition until LV-19, the chance of breaking the limit will be greatly increased. Just as Lin Feng was analyzing his upgraded attributes, a hearty call suddenly sounded outside the house. Brother Lin Feng, stop playing around and get down to business. Lin Feng walked out of the RV. Lin Feng walked forward and handed the book and jewelry bag in his hand to Li Ran. Brother Li, please help me. This is something that Brother Qin asked me to do. Please deliver it to him when you are free. Li Ran took the bag of books and left the place with a sense of relief. Although he was also an awakener, he was only in the early stage of the first level and could not compare with the late-stage elites in the 2 cars. Major Cheng in particular exuded a terrifying aura, as if he was being stared at by a tiger, making him feel very uneasy for a moment. The key point is that the opponent is far superior to himself in both military rank and strength, so he cannot leave on his own. Fortunately, Lin Feng appeared in time to help Li Ran out of trouble. After Lieutenant Li walked away, Lin Feng turned around and looked at Cheng Zan, who was staring at him. This time he also felt a momentum released by the other party, but Lin Feng, who had already entered LV17, the late first stage, was naturally worthy of this. This surprised Cheng Zan greatly, and he then realized that in just 2 days, the opponent had successfully entered the late stage of the first stage. This speed was beyond the reach of anyone in peacetime. The rumors were indeed true. This young man who looked harmless with a smile had unfathomable hidden strength behind him. Cheng Zan immediately retracted his momentum, moved closer to Lin Feng outside the car window, and whispered, "Are you interested in this mission? Go with us to the heartland of the Zerg forces and look for mid-level Zergs?" Lin Feng was stunned. Although he had expected it, he still pretended to be shocked seeing this. Cheng Zan's eyes flashed with excitement and pride, but then the young man in front of him turned around and looked at the beauty who had half of her face exposed in the RV. Then he shook his head. "I caught the train and sat in a hard seat for 7 hours overnight. I'll take a nap first, and if I can get up in the afternoon, I may update more." Chapter 68, Refusal, Cover, TNT. I have just entered the late stage of the first stage. I still need to kill more than a dozen black spine insects before I can reach the peak of the first stage. I will not take part in this adventure. If you succeed, remember to take me with you next time. As he spoke, a look of longing and regret emerged on Lin Feng's face. Cheng Zan laughed and was not angry because of Lin Feng's refusal. As an outsider, he was originally excluded from the plan. It was just that Cheng Zan had a sudden impulse when he saw that he had actually entered the late first stage. Being rejected now is also expected. This dangerous mission is entirely voluntary. Cheng Zan doesn't want anyone to back out halfway, which would harm the entire team. So even though many of his old teammates in the Awakener camp also rejected him, Cheng Zan still didn't care too much. "You are still young and have a long way to go. There is no need to rush. Unlike us, we are bound by this clothing. By the way, if you don't come with us, there's something I hope you can help me with." Lin Feng still needed the important information that the other party brought back, so he agreed. "Okay, if I can help, just ask." Cheng Zan nodded and said softly, "If we just barge in like this, we will be easily discovered by the Zerg, surrounded and caught in the trap, so I need you to help us cover, just like the diversionary mission you completed last time. As long as you can attract the Queen Mother's attention, you can help us buy some safe time tracked." Lin Feng frowned slightly. This task was neither simple nor difficult. How to grasp this degree is very important. The swarm of black-backed insects attracted was only in the hundreds or thousands, so they could still be dealt with. But if there were thousands of black-backed insects, even Lin Feng now would not be able to fight against them on his own, especially since the red beetles have already pushed the wormhole to 3 or 4 kilometers outside the actual territory of the Zerg. It is very likely that Lin Feng is frantically harvesting insects in a deeper area, while suddenly, swarms of black-backed insects emerge from the rear. Surrounded from front and back, there is no way to escape. This is also the reason why when Lin Feng was upgrading the RV yesterday, he only caught a more valuable live insects. After filling the trunk, he could obviously remove the giant jaws of the dead insects and tie them to the roof of the RV, but he didn't bother to do it. Out of caution, Lin Feng would not let himself stay in the Zerg hinterland for too long. Although doing so would only allow him to level up in 1 or 2 days, his safety would be greatly improved. The Zerg are not idiots. The Queen is definitely smarter than humans, and the support speed of the black-spined worms will only get faster and faster. It's okay to do this a few times, but if it continues for a long time, Lin Feng is afraid that he will capsize in the ditch in the later stage. And what Cheng Zan wants now is to let Lin Feng stay at the front line for a while longer to help him buy time. Although this is not as dangerous as going deep into the Zerg hive, it is not something that ordinary people can accomplish. The other party obviously saw that Lin Feng had successfully completed the containment mission once and wanted him to replicate it again. Seeing the embarrassment on Lin Feng's face, Cheng Zan raised his hand and patted his shoulder. "Don't worry. You just need to bring the female star back. As for these people, let them attract the Zerg's attention. You don't have to fight too much. After severely injuring 100 black spine insects at once, just run away. With this number, the Queen Mother will definitely be able to control thousands of black spine insects to surround us. Then we can get closer to the depths of the nest and find the hidden second-level tiger spine worm." Lin Feng thought for a long time, struggled for a while, and finally nodded in agreement. This show-like mission activity actually has little to do with the female celebrity, but is instead a first attempt at the Zerg hive. Seeing that the young man finally agreed, Cheng Zhan finally showed a happy smile on his face and returned to the car with his upper body. Okay, without further ado, make your final preparations and we'll be leaving in 15 minutes. Seeing two jeeps going away, their vehicles were equipped with various heavy weapons, including 4 machine guns. Lin Feng also caught a glimpse of 2 100mm mortars hidden under the camouflage cloth. This firepower was more than enough to deal with the pursuit of hundreds of black-backed insects. Have seen the situation. Their main task is not to help you catch live insects. It seems that this filming and your superpower awakening all depend on my mood. A trace of indignation flashed across Zhang Yun'er's face, and she picked up her phone to make a complaint. Lin Feng shook his head. Don't struggle. You don't have any actual evidence. They are an elite team from the 13th Division. They are all awakened people in the late first stage or even perfect stage. The higher-ups can control them, and whether it's the top management or the research institute, for this mission, exploring the mother nest is far more important than on a show. Zhang Yun'er didn't believe it and made several calls in a row. When she heard the standard terminology reply from the other end, she felt a little desperate. Couldn't they send another team? Is there no one left in the 13th Division? Can we not go? Lin Feng shrugged and putting up 2 fingers. This mission may not have been reported to the top, so it cannot be seen before it is successfully completed. We can only use this as a cover. Of course, there is another reason. You have no room to refuse and you must go. After saying this, Lin Feng spread his hands. There are still 14 minutes left. Have your people prepare quickly if you still want to complete the complete awakening. Remember not to come here to take advantage of the traffic next time. The 13th Division is not your base. Except for the top leaders who are trying to save face, no one cares about your life or death. Oh, by the way, except for this guy Qin who, if he hadn't begged me to take over, your safety would be almost zero, so those earrings worth hundreds of thousands of dollars are really worth it. Don't feel bad about it. Zhang Yun'er wanted to say a few more words to Lin Feng, begging him to help her complete her awakening, but unfortunately after he finished speaking, he walked towards the repair shop in the distance without looking back in the RV under the tarpaulin. Lin Feng put on his clothes while explaining the current situation to Chen Yan'an. Chen Yan'an had already made preparations and covered the rooftop observation deck. She was now sitting in the driver's seat ready to go. When she heard her man worrying about a cover mission, she couldn't help but frown. Would you like to take some of the 100 kilograms of explosives that Hu Fei sent last time? That C4 clay explosive isn't very powerful. He said one piece of it could bring down a 5-story building. The last time Lin Feng was able to create a miracle of blocking and seriously injure hundreds of black-backed insects in an instant, it was all thanks to the terrifying power of the gasoline bomb. Nowadays, we have upgraded our rifles to cannons and directly use high-energy explosives, which can create a shocking explosion more safely and stably. After hearing Chen Yan'an's reminder, Lin Feng thought for a moment. Hu Fei doesn't have much of these explosives anymore, and he doesn't know when the next delivery will be. Moreover, disposable items like these cannot be upgraded. After all, after the explosion, there is nothing left. Lin Feng originally planned to bury the 100 kilograms of explosives near the service area. If the watching blocking battle could not be sustained, it could be used to clear the area and blast away to escape from the insect swarm. At this moment, the explosives are hidden in the basement of the repair shop. Lin Feng dare not carry them in the car at all times. If there is any spark, even if the RV has been upgraded to level 19, it will be destroyed in an instant. But this cover mission would undoubtedly be much easier with the help of high-energy explosives. Especially when blocking a large army of black-spined worms, the instantaneous firepower coverage of machine guns is far less terrifying than explosives. Moreover, explosives can directly collapse wormholes. As long as they can be placed in key locations, they may have miraculous effects. Lin Feng thought for a while, nodded, got out of the RV, and brought back 10 pieces of yellow explosives from the basement of the repair shop. Although 10 kilograms of TNT yellow explosives are not as powerful as C4 clay explosives of the same weight, it can still easily deal with hundreds of black-backed worms. As long as he can take advantage of this opportunity and accumulate enough upgrade points, Lin Feng's level 17 howitzer and level 13 armed RV will get another leap forward. Using 10 kilograms of TNT to exchange for a large number of upgrade points is completely worth the money. Moreover, Chang'an needed him to be on the front battlefield to tie down the black-backed insect army and the Queen Mother's attention, but Lin Feng also knew that the threat from Chang'an could attract more attention from the Queen Mother. As long as a battle breaks out near the mother nest in the rear, Lin Feng's frontal pressure will be greatly reduced. At least there wouldn't be thousands or tens of thousands of black-backed insects swarming out and attacking him. The containment and protection between the two are mutual. After making up his mind, Lin Feng decided to seize this critical opportunity, even if it required taking a little risk. What's more, his real purpose is not just some upgrade points. The big star in the luxury RV behind him is also one of his targets. After returning to the RV, Lin Feng heard the horn outside urging him to go, and he immediately spoke, "Let's go and let these bugs have a taste of the power of the armed RV." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, Obeying Orders, Frontline Shooting. Seeing the luxury RV in the parking lot outside, the beauty got out reluctantly and got into a business car used for filming. Under Lin Feng's warning and a little bit of intimidation, Zhang Yuna reluctantly left the safe service area. You are equipped with heavy firepower, you can kill one in tens of seconds. But black-backed beetles will not act alone. Even a scout team will have 3 or more black-backed beetles. Now in the peaceful development period, black-backed beetles mostly travel in groups, patrolling the edge of the territory. If you want to kill one of them, you must face the relentless pursuit of the other dozen or so. As time goes on, more and more black-backed insects will join the pursuit, and may even attract attacks from green-winged insects in the sky. This is the real danger. The more people there are, the more insects are attracted. So even a strong military would find it difficult to capture live insects. Otherwise, Hu Fei would have directly sought cooperation with the military instead of being so humble and flattering to Lin Feng, a little-known new awakener. Because Lin Feng's individual combat power is too high, he will not be restricted by the military's rules and regulations. There are few awakened super bullets inside, and the military dare not waste them on capturing living insects. These are powerful weapons that can change the direction of the battle in a small way. The blocking battle on the bunker defense line cannot be achieved without the help of their superpowers. Of course, the military is more interested in Lin Feng. It's just that he joined the State Guard ahead of time, so the 13th Division couldn't continue to speak. Bastion was built in the service area of the highway as an outpost to assist the main front and to contain and attract Zerg firepower. At the moment, Zhang Yun'er's show activities have become a cover for the Mother Nest exploration mission. Let alone killing insects, it has become a problem to survive. But as long as Lin Feng is willing to help, it will be very easy for the big star to awaken his insect-killing consciousness. The key lies in whether Lin Feng is willing. While driving along the military jeep, Chen Yannian asked, "Didn't Major Cheng say that we just need to rescue Zhang Yun'er? Should we let her get in this car later? We can take her with us when we run away." Lin Feng glanced at the commercial vehicle in the rearview mirror, then stared at the military vehicle in front of him, revealing a hint of a sneer. "Of course I will. If Zhang Yun'er really dies in front of us, you and I will be scapegoats." As an explanation to the forces behind Zhang Yun'er, "Of course, the probability of this happening is relatively low. It is very likely that the 13th Division will use this as an excuse to force us to join them and become one of the hard-working laborers in the blocking battle, but we can't just help a big star complete her show so easily. We need a little more twists and turns, and I need to tell her the truth. Then she will listen to us and help us build publicity in the future. We need to have our own channels. Otherwise, even if we win a war against the Zerg, no one will know." This is the ultimate goal of getting close to Zhang Yun'er. Through her mouth, tell the survivors around the world that humans can defeat the Zerg, and I am the great savior. Only in this way can we become famous and declare to the world that our existence is hope. Chen Yannian nodded, and was once again impressed by Lin Feng's foresight. She thought that Lin Feng was just after her beauty, but she didn't expect there was such a deep meaning behind it. Then he joked, "Then you should feed her mouth more. After all, the best way to conquer a woman is to fill all the emptiness in her body." Lin Feng coughed awkwardly and rolled his eyes at the woman. Soon, under the supervision of 2 military vehicles in front and behind, a line of armored RVs and 3 commercial vehicles drove to the suburban front line. This is already the suburbs of Wuchang and the edge of the Zerg territory, and a large area of the suburbs of Haicheng is now completely occupied by the Zerg. Lin Feng looked at the landmarks and mileage and found that after one night, the Zerg had expanded inland by more than 3 kilometers. If they continue like this, they will reach the edge of Wuchang City in less than 10 days. On the 7th day, the defenders in the bunker will be able to directly see the activities of the Zerg red beetles through high-powered telescopes. Time is becoming increasingly urgent. Lin Feng looked at the mounds on both sides of the highway and heard the roar of several cars. The nearby red beetles quickly crawled into the cave. They were also becoming smarter. If there were many cars or people nearby, they would quickly flee and no longer kill anyone they saw like they did in Haicheng when they first landed. As the convoy stopped moving, several soldiers got off the jeep in front and asked everyone to get out and get ready to shoot. Here Lin Feng asked Chen Yan'an to stay in the car and secretly controlled the guns on the armed RV. Then he turned on his own red armor, tightly gripped the level 17 howitzer in his hand, and slowly jumped out of the car. Chang Zong walked over and looked at the changes in the armored RV with curiosity. This was the first time he had seen such a strange modified car, as if it was a combination of biology and machinery. The machine gun ports in front, behind, left and right looked extremely ferocious compared to this armored RV. The armor on Lin Feng's body is not that amazing. This vehicle is good, and is stronger than our jeep, but its firepower is too weak and cannot compare to a tank. The machine gun has limited lethality against black spine insects. If this mission is successfully completed, I will get you 2 large caliber mortars and install them on the roof of the car. Lin Feng nodded and expressed his gratitude. Then I wish Brother Cheng success in his mission in advance. Although there are already 3 machine guns hidden in the RV, you can never have too much heavy firepower. The two chatted for a few more words, and in the business car behind them, the filming crew and Zhang Yuner walked over. At this time, the big star has changed into a military uniform and tied her hair into a neat ponytail. The camouflage vest is tight, highlighting her graceful figure sides of the cheeks, making him look extremely capable and brave. When she walked, her plump breasts even bounced, and Lin Feng's tall stature could even reveal the deep ravines. The purpose of shooting the insect-killing promotional video is mainly to recruit men from the rear to join the army, so some eye-catching tricks are necessary. At this moment, the soldier in the jeep handed Zhang Yuner a large-caliber rifle equipped with a grenade launcher, and began to explain the usage process. Behind him was the filming team, with 2 photographers carrying large professional cameras, and following closely behind were other staff members holding tripods, recorders and lighting boards. Looks very professional. Too bad this is the front line. Lin Feng prayed for them silently. He couldn't escape the insects with these things in his hands. You have only strengthened 7 times, so you need to kill 17 red beetles to complete the 9th strengthening. Then kill a black spine beetle, and today's mission will be completed. Of course, you can also just kill the red beetles, and then you can return safely. Lin Feng sat on the guardrail and listened to the soldier's introduction. It seemed that they also gave Zhang Yuner a chance. It was a pity that her purpose of coming here was to safely complete the complete superpower awakening. Seeing the big star holding a gun and looking back at him, Lin Feng nodded secretly without leaving a trace to comfort the other party. Then she told the soldiers that she was ready. The soldier took out a few live chickens from the trunk, cut their throats and threw them at the edge of the wormhole. As blood splattered and the live chickens cried, pairs of tentacles poked out from the entrance of the cave. Chapter 70, Killing Insects, Decisive, Black Spine Insects Attack. The live broadcast shows a beautiful woman killing insects, with her surging breasts and death intertwined, creating a kind of absurd surreal beauty. The soldier next to him also held a gun in his hand and remained alert. Once the red beetles got close, he would decisively shoot them to death. Zhang Yuner took a deep breath. The insects she had killed before were all bought from the front line through various channels. Not only were their sharp 6 legs and chelicerae chopped off, but even their bodies were tightly tied and fixed. There was no danger at all. After killing nearly 30 bugs and gaining 7 enhancements, Zhang Yuner's own financial resources and background could no longer support her to continue. But she had already awakened her psychic abilities in advance, which were very consistent with her career as an actress and star. Zhang Yuner hid this ability from everyone. Of course, no one would suspect that an actor would awaken his talent early. But she cannot completely control the development of this ability. She must awaken it completely as soon as possible and master mind control before it is exposed. Otherwise, she didn't want to be sent to the research institute and have her blood drawn and tested by those weirdos and undergo various experiments. And because of the strangeness of this ability, no matter how powerful her background is, the big shots at that level will definitely regard her as a thorn in their eyes, for fear of avoiding it. Therefore, in order to complete the awakening as quickly as possible and in a reasonable and compliant manner, Zhang Yuner volunteered to participate in the promotional shooting task announced above. She could have chosen a city near the federal capital, which would have been her base, and she wouldn't be as passive as she is now. But in order to prevent her abilities from being exposed after awakening, Zhang Yuner ventured to Jiangnan Prefecture where the 13th Division was stationed. At first she simply thought that as the only place that officially reported a successful victory in stopping the Zerg, its safety should at least be guaranteed. It's a pity that everything went against our wishes at this moment. She was holding a large caliber rifle in her hand. Although her basic conditions were too poor and she was weaker than other people who had been strengthened 7 times, her physical fitness was 3 times that of ordinary people. She raised the gun, aimed and shot in one go. Dozens of crisp bangs were heard from the muzzle of the silenced gun, and a dozen red beetles fell to the ground. Yuner, who looks fragile, has such a side to her. But he didn't know that the pressure Zhang Yuner was under was far more than just being attacked by insects. If she fails to fully awaken this time and master the use of her superpowers, what awaits her will be imprisonment and experimentation forever. She can't afford to be soft-hearted. Zhang Yuner, who is able to climb step by step from an 18th tier little star to top international superstar, may not be ruthless, but she is definitely decisive. Seeing that no more red beetles were crawling out of this wormhole, Zhang Yuner raised the muzzle of the gun, looked at the camera, calmly looked at the soldier beside her, and said the line, "As long as we kill the bugs, we can easily complete the reinforcement. Now let's go to the next hole." The soldier looked at her, calm, and led everyone out of the guardrail to the opposite side. Zhang Yuner lifted her long legs and easily stepped over the 1-meter-high guardrail, feeling the warmth in her body flowing into every corner of her body, strengthening her physical and mental fitness. Her abilities are becoming more powerful. So he glanced at Lin Feng beside him, his eyes full of confidence and a hint of provocation. Lin Feng smiled slightly and spoke softly, "I hope your acting skills will still be so good when you encounter the black spine worm later." The confident smile on Zhang Yuner's face froze, but after hearing the soldier's urgent, her expression returned to normal and she headed for the next wormhole. Lin Feng looked at her twisting her buttocks and walking to the other side, shaking his head. At this time, 2 jeeps drove up to his side. Cheng Zan rolled down the window. "It seems that our famous star doesn't need your extra protection. She thinks she can do it on her own." Lin Feng shrugged and looked at Zhang Yuner. "The scarlet beetles are not even first-level Zerg. They are just some low-level, inferior bugs. If she, who has undergone 7 enhancements and is armed with a large-caliber rifle, can't easily deal with them, then there is no need to film a promotional video for them." As he spoke, Lin Feng turned his gaze back to the jeep. "Are you ready to go?" Cheng Zan nodded, lit a cigarette and took a deep puff. "Yes, it's almost time. It's just right that I will set out with you later. You will be responsible for attracting the patrolling black spine insect swarm over there. As long as there are no more than 30 black spine insects, I can guarantee that none of them will be left alive and all will be dealt with. I will definitely not expose your whereabouts." When the time came, Cheng Zan didn't say any more cheesy words, as this trip might be a life or death one, but in order to become stronger, they are ready to die finally. He patted Lin Feng on the shoulder. "Thank you very much. This exploration mission was issued by the Institute. It is for the future of all mankind. If there are any new discoveries in progress, you will also contribute to it." Lin Feng nodded and watched the jeep leave. Then he looked at the 2 soldiers who were left behind. They were only at the early stage of the first level, one at LV-11 and the other at LV-12. They were of little use when facing a large group of black spine insects. They might be left behind to take care of Zhang Yuner, or more likely to supervise the smooth execution of the mission and prevent anyone from deserting the battlefield. Lin Feng shook his head and returned to the RV. At this time, Chen Yannian had already dealt with the 10 pieces of TNT yellow explosives. She installed detonators on them one by one and connected them in parallel with wires. This will allow for instantaneous synchronous detonation. The placement points are dispersed, and the combined power is enough to kill all living things within 100 meters. It is larger than a standard football field, capable of killing or seriously injuring 400 to 500 black-backed worms. This is the confidence that gave Lin Feng the ability to take over this mission. And this time he not only had to seriously injure so many bugs, but also had to stay and finish them off one by one to accumulate enough evolution points for the LV-17 howitzer and RV. Chen Yanai looked at the safe operation instructions in her hand, wiped the sweat from her forehead, and breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Feng walked up to her and kissed her, his eyes fixed on the electric coil that was dozens of meters long in front of him, and the signal receiver at the end. This is still remotely controlled. Just pull out the safety, move away a few hundred meters, and press the red button on the detonator, and the black-backed worm will be torn into pieces like an ant on a hot pan soon. Outside the house, Zhang Yuner completed the 9th enhancement after 2 rounds of small enhancements. Her superpowers can even slightly affect the soldiers around her who are in the early stages of first-level awakening as long as others have desires for her. This kind of mental control ability can not only enhance her charm and make others see her with a beauty filter, but also deepen this ability of mind control. Feeling the changes in her body, Zhang Yuner became more excited about the final stage of complete awakening. As long as she can complete the evolution, she can hide her superpowers, manipulate people's hearts, and develop slowly area. The group encountered a patrol team of 22 black-backed beetles, already blocked on the highway. They smelled the distress signal sent by the red beetle and came to check. The 2 deeps in the front lifted the curtains on the roof, revealing the large caliber muzzles of their machine guns, and fired wildly, tearing a gap in the middle of the black-spined insect swarm car, firing at the swarm of black-backed insects, and cooperated with a jeep in front to disrupt the insect's formation. Under the high-intensity output of heavy firepower, 7 or 8 of the black-backed insects died instantly, and the jeep successfully broke through the blockade of the black-backed insects. He headed east without looking back, heading to the toll booth on the highway, and then to the suburbs of Heicheng, where the Zerg mother nest was located. At this time, Lin Feng had already walked to the 2nd floor of the armed RV and stood under the observation deck. He raised the level 17 howitzer in his hand, aimed at the remaining black-backed insects in front of him, and started firing. One shot can take down one, with 150 damage and an effective killing range of 10 meters. Sometimes even 2 injured black-backed insects can be taken down with one shot. Just as Lin Feng was happily harvesting, Zhang Yuner and her filming team hurried to the front of the business car behind him. Wait, leave one for me. Lin Feng frowned slightly and scolded in a hurry. Are you crazy? Do you want to die? Chapter 71. The army of black-backed insects is so cruel. Kneel down. If they get angry, 3 black-backed beetles can destroy a tank. The jaw giants have a bite force of several tons and can easily pierce 10mm steel plates. Even though Lin Feng was wearing the red-black armor, he did not dare to face the encirclement of a group of black-backed insects. He could only rely on the cover of the RV and stand on a high place to fire cannons to harvest. I didn't expect that Zhang Yuner would take such a risk to kill a black-backed insect. Lin Feng really didn't know whether to admire her senseless courage or lament her ignorance and stupidity. The black-backed worm was already furious after losing its target due to the obstruction of the armed RV. Now it saw a group of humans crossing the RV and appearing in front of it after a sharp hissing sound. The remaining 10 black-backed insects tried their best and rushed straight towards Zhang Yuner and others. The 2 supervising soldiers did not follow the filming crew out of the car at this moment. Instead, they sat in the driver's seat of the commercial vehicle, ready to turn around and run away at any time. They had faced off against the Zerg army on the battlefield, and after experiencing life and death, they knew very well how terrifying the black-spined worms were. The reason why they were still willing to stay here was entirely because they saw that Lin Feng possessed the super bullet ability and had such strong firepower that he could easily deal with a swarm of insects. When the next round of hundreds of black-backed beetles arrive, they will just run away. As long as the goal is achieved, it doesn't matter whether it's actress Zhang Yuner or Lin Feng, it has nothing to do with him. At this moment, he was facing the attack of 10 black spine insects, a group of terrifying giant insects that were 3 meters wide and more than 2 meters high, and the 2 soldiers responsible for protection were nowhere to be seen, as well as Lin Feng's loud scolding. Zhang Yuner, who was full of passion, finally came to her senses and felt the approach of death. Ash panicked and frightened. The filming team she controlled, who were all ordinary people, also showed expressions of fear. The next second, a black-backed beetle in perfect condition jumped more than 20 meters away, and landed directly in front of the staff carrying the camera. The pincer on one side pierced his other arm, and the huge jaws moved sideways to bite. Not only did the cameraman's shoulder and arm fly out, but his upper body was also cut in half by the giant jaws in an instant. The torso, Internal organs, blood and flesh flew everywhere. Red, yellow, green, scattered all over the ground. Streaks of blood splattered directly on everyone, and Zhang Yuner, who was standing next to the cameraman, had half of her body and face covered in sticky blood. She was frightened at the moment, but as the black-backed worms continued to attack in all directions, screams continued to be heard one after another. Zhang Yuner woke up in shock, picked up a large caliber rifle in her hand, and aimed at the huge jaws of the black-backed worm attacking her at close range, and started to shoot wildly. The bullet went straight into its mouth. This is a place where there are few black-backed insects and their armor is weak, but to have encountered such an opportunity means that this person is not far from death. Fortunately, thanks to her extremely high mental strength, Zhang Yuner was able to aim and pull the trigger to counterattack. In the 2 last seconds before death, a large caliber bullet was shot into the mouth parts of the black spine worm, and after penetrating the soft and slippery throat inside, it directly exploded the worm brain hidden inside the giant jaws. The nervous system suffered damage, and the black spine worm that rushed to the front and started the slaughter staggered and fell in front of Zhang Yuner. Finally, the sharp tip of the giant jaw almost brushed against her towering and heaving breasts and fell heavily to the ground. After sacrificing 3 crew members, Zhang Yuner finally succeeded in killing a black-backed insect on her own. But this is obviously just the beginning and the crisis is far from over. She was almost exhausted after surviving the catastrophe, especially the scene where the black spine insect pounced on her with all its might. She was so frightened that her legs went weak and her tight military pants became wet and slippery. However, the other black-backed insects not far away were less than 10 meters away and were about to rush to her. At this time, Lin Feng fired decisively. The power of the howitzer instantly eliminated the 3 seriously injured black-backed insects in the back row. The residual power of the explosion also disrupted their offensive pace. At the same time, the spreading shock wave blew down the staggering Zhang Yuner and other survivors. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lin Feng continued to harvest and soon eliminated the last 6 black-backed insects one by one. In this wave of 22 black spine insects, 19 died in his hands, which was enough to upgrade the level 17 howitzer in his hand to the red perfect stage of level 19. Lin Feng started the upgrade directly, matter how many black spine insects it kills. After all the black-backed beetles were dealt with, Zhang Yuner and the other filming crew members on the ground slowly got up. He turned around and wanted to get back into the business car. Now only the car can give them a sense of security. Car had its tires blasted by soldiers' gunfire, and it was no match for the black-backed bug. Therefore, the only thing that can escort them out of the Zerg's heartland right now is the armored RV in front of them. However, the man standing on the second-floor observation deck of the RV stared ahead with a serious expression, paying no attention to the cries for help from the survivors. Zhang Yuner swallowed her saliva. She was exhausted after killing the black-backed worm, and the after effects of the previous 9 enhancements were almost gone. She had a mediocre physical condition to begin with, and now she had no strength to fight against a black-backed worm. The first level upgrade and awakening requires a stable state and environment. Zhang Yuner knew that if she didn't beg Lin Feng to let her get in the car, then all that awaits you is death. Then she suddenly took off her blood-stained coat, revealing a large area of snow-white skin, and her proud chest was even more dazzling. After wiping his face with the back of his clothes, he spoke loudly to Lin Feng. Lin Feng, take me away. I can give you anything you want, including myself. Haven't you wanted this for a long time? Let me get in the car, and I'll be your woman, all of me. Zhang Yuner's eyes were filled with tears, and she pleaded, please, save me and leave. Hearing the woman's crying, Lin Feng frowned slightly and withdrew his gaze from the distance. Before this, his attention was attracted by the large number of black-backed insects rushing towards him from afar. The soldiers behind the car chose to flee decisively and also discovered this scene. An army of black-backed insects appeared 2 or 3 kilometers away. There were hundreds and thousands of them, forming a towering and undulating black line on the horizon, which was an extremely oppressive swarm of insects. Lin Feng slowly turned his head amid Zhang Yuner's pleading, and saw that the female star was risking her dignity and bottom line just to beg him to save her. Lin Feng raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and told Chen Yan'an to open the trunk of the RV. The upgraded and widened trunk is completely separated from the main space of the RV, so there is no need to worry about them entering the RV. However, the trunk is full of residual liquid left by the living insects, and it is stuffy inside on a hot day, something that most people can tolerate. But if they didn't get in the car now, they would die. Seeing Lin Feng opening the trunk, Zhang Yuner and several survivors ran desperately to the back of the car and stepped into the trunk. They were afraid that Lin Feng would change his mind at the last minute and abandon them in the dangerous Zerg hinterland. Don't worry, I will definitely lead everyone out. At this moment, Zhang Yuner and others had all gotten into the car, and the last two cameramen closed the door. After breathed a sigh of relief, Zhang Yuner heard Lin Feng's slightly sarcastic reply, and her face suddenly flushed, everyone feeling embarrassed and angry. Thinking of what happened just now, everyone saw it all, especially when I took off my clothes, and now I only had a thin tight vest on my upper body, coupled with a strange smell in the cramped space. It is even more unbearable. Zhang Yuner looked at the four subordinate employees in front of her, a hint of ferocity flashed in her eyes, and her hands slowly clenched the rifle hanging diagonally at her waist. After seeing everyone board the RV, Lin Feng shouted to Chen Yan'an, who was in the driver's seat, almost responded, "Done, we can go now." Chen Yan'an, by reversing the car, making a U-turn, then stepped on the accelerator and drove away in the direction she came from. At the same time, Lin Feng seized the opportunity and dropped 10 pieces of TNT yellow explosives that he had prepared in advance at a place with hills dozens of meters high on both sides. When throwing, don't forget to remove the safety device. Then he tightened his grip on the detonator, a fixed distance from the army of black-backed insects behind him. Fortunately, Chen Yan'an's control of the RV has reached perfection, and she can easily complete Lin Feng's instructions. 1 kilometer away from the point where the explosives were thrown, the armored RV slowly slowed down. Lin Feng stared nervously at the overwhelming army of black-backed insects that emerged from between the two hills. Zerg had indeed made some preparations. They would not allow themselves to continue to spawn indefinitely after being ambushed twice in a row. The Queen Mother had already taken precautions against this highway. Such a large army of black-backed insects can only be assembled within 2 or 3 minutes if they are ambushed and prepared in advance. Unfortunately, Lin Feng was not trying to catch live insects this time, so there won't be any hesitation or waiting, and his purpose is to directly massacre, kill as many black spine insects as possible. When a part of the black-backed worm army passed through the mountain, he decisively pressed the detonator, and there was a shocking loud bang. The TNT explosives thrown on the highway and on the mountains on both sides were detonated simultaneously in an instant. The violent explosion directly overturned a large amount of rubble. It triggered landslides on both sides, flooding the already shattered highway. At the same time, the shock wave generated by the explosion directly killed 70 or 80 black-backed insects in the center area, and then knocked down all the insects within a radius of 300 meters. A large number of black-backed insects were seriously injured and fell to the ground. It's a pity that the black-backed worms that melted directly in the center of the explosion did not bring much upgrade or enhancement to Lin Feng himself. The ground is the biggest harvest and reward. Chen Yan'an directly controlled the machine gun on the RV and 10 replica heavy machine guns with unlimited bullets, and fired wildly at the explosion area in the distance. No need to aim at all, because there are thousands of black-backed insects, which are just too many. Almost every shot hits the target. Now Lin Feng also got to experience the thrill of killing monsters on the front battlefield. After completing the harvest of some of the 400 or 500 seriously injured black-backed insects, Lin Feng looked at the continuously rising upgrade points of the armored RV. In just a dozen seconds, it rose to 88 points. Without being greedy, he directly ordered Chen Yan'an to drive away. Accompanied by the roar of the engine, hundreds of surviving black-backed insects followed behind the armored RV. They managed to escape the disaster by chance, and while they were taking advantage of the RV to reap the lives of their companions, they had already crossed a distance of more than 1 kilometer and caught up with the enemy. Lin Feng asked Chen Yan'an not to use the machine gun anymore because its bullet recovery was too slow and could not be wasted. Anyway, the accumulated upgrade points are enough to upgrade it to the maximum level. Now the level 17 howitzer in hand is enough to deal with this group of fearless insects. Of course, Lin Feng was only playing a supporting role, and the task of harvesting was left to the 10 heavy machine guns on the vehicle. As replicas, they could give their holders 1/10 of the upgrade speed points. In this way, Chen Yan'an can safely and quickly accumulate the number of insecticides needed for upgrading. However, what surprised Lin Feng was that while he was escaping, a gunshot suddenly rang out in the trunk of the RV under him. Then the car door was opened, and not only did a body roll down, but under the coercion of Zhang Yuner, the other 3 surviving employees stuck to the side of the car door and were then kicked out of the car. Before life and death, No matter how much spiritual charm there is, it is not as convincing as the black muzzle of a gun. The physique of ordinary people cannot be compared with that of a 9 times enhanced person who is 4 times stronger than them. Even Zhang Yuner is also very tired. The 3 people who fell to the ground had broken limbs and, like the previous corpse, were quickly buried in the rolling tide of insects. A bunch of bright red blood flowers were stirred up. Lin Feng looked down and met Zhang Yuner's eyes as she was about to close the door of the carriage. Then I heard the other party shouting, "Lin Feng, I want to go up. The trunk stinks." On the rear door of the trunk, there is a ladder that leads to the second floor observation deck. Lin Feng glanced at the sky and nodded. "Drop the gun and come up here." Zhang Yuner hesitated for a moment, and when she saw the red and black armor on Lin Feng, she threw away the rifle in her hand, then turned sideways to grab the unopened door on one side and held the ladder above tightly. Step by step, climb up to the second floor of the RV. Just as she was about to cross the stairs and enter the observation deck amidst the strong wind, she was using her last bit of strength. Suddenly, Lin Feng's peripheral vision keenly noticed something. He suddenly raised his head and looked above his head. I saw a green light swooping down at a terrifying speed of hundreds of meters per second. Lin Feng immediately shouted, "Give me a sigh." Zhang Yuner was stunned. "But it seems like I've gotten used to it." He subconsciously leaned forward and knelt, grabbing the pockets on both sides of Lin Feng's pants tightly. Little did she know that this action actually saved her life. "I finally got home today, but I caught a cold after walking around outside. 6,000 words are presented first, and the third and fourth updates are in preparation. The plot will advance rapidly soon." Chapter 72, Crotch Drill, LV-18 Howitzer. Zhang Yuner subconsciously leaned over to Lin Feng's crotch, and the next moment, a green light flashed next to the outer armor of the observation tower. The flat, sharp tip of the leg scraped a spark on the fence armor, only 10 centimeters away from Zhang Yuner's head. If she had been half a second later, the sharp blade would have separated his head from his body, and even the gods would have been unable to save him. Of course, the attack mode of the green-winged insect is to rely on the help of a high-speed dive, then pull up close to the ground, and sprint in a straight line to harvest in a hook-shaped gliding posture. This way you won't tilt your head against the ground and kill yourself. However, the preparation time for the attack will also be delayed. Even if the instantaneous gliding speed is close to the speed of sound, it is this 1 or 2 seconds of pulling up and gliding that will give the target time to react. Especially Lin Feng has been on guard all the time, but he did not expect that the blue-winged insect would be so smart and cunning. It had already discovered a battle that had broken out here, but it was hovering right above the armored RV the entire time. The top of the observation tower's lid is Lin Feng's only visual blind spot, which is only about 10 square meters in size. Under normal circumstances, he would not deliberately stick his head out to take a look. Unexpectedly, the green-winged insect took advantage of this opportunity and set up an ambush. Fortunately, the one who took the risk was only Zhang Yuner. Even if she really died, Lin Feng would at most only feel sorry for her rare psychic ability. A temporary reminder, completely out of instinct, if Zhang Yuner can seize the opportunity herself, it means that she is not destined to die. With a sudden attack of the green-winged insect, Zhang Yuner managed to escape it safely thanks to Lin Feng's loud warning fell on her neck and chest, leaving spots of bright red blood. Feeling the pain, Zhang Yuner raised her head in confusion, and only then did she see a black, deformed mark with smoky water on the armor of the guardrail above her head. She was immediately frightened. "Be here soon." Hearing the man's urging voice, Zhang Yuner trembled all over. At this moment, her whole body was still outside the observation tower. If the strange green light just now had gone down a few dozen centimeters, how could her small body compare to this armor? In order to escape as quickly as possible, Zhang Yuner didn't care about her face and dignity. In order to survive this crisis, she has already lost too much, and now she has no reason to bow her head and accept her fate. So without any hesitation, he slipped his head out from the other person's crotch. Lin Feng was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "Next time you do this, tell me in advance so I can take out my phone and record this wonderful moment." Zhang Yuner calmed down her inner fear and reached out to touch her forehead. She realized that her head had bumped into Lin Feng's thigh due to the sudden dive just now. At this moment, she heard the other party's ridicule. The joy of surviving the disaster did not last long. She was ashamed and embarrassed, and she fought back breathlessly. "If you like being drilled so much, be careful of getting your crotch ripped." Lin Feng shrugged and glanced at the swarm of black-backed insects that were chasing him relentlessly. At this moment, several heavy machine guns were still spitting out flames to block their advance. But the threats go far beyond this. The green-winged insect in the sky was not the only one. As its attack failed, more and more green shadows appeared above the RV, looking for weak points in the RV's armor and waiting for an opportunity to launch a dive attack. Lin Feng stretched out his foot and lifted the female star's foot. "Can you still stand up?" Zhang Yuner shook her head. She was really exhausted. After continuous high-intensity battles and several life-and-death crises, for an inexperienced enhanced person like her, all the potential of her body has been drained, unless she can complete the first level awakening. Now seeing that the other party was lying on the ground like a dead fish, not only useless but also taking up space, Lin Feng did not indulge her. He directly grabbed her shoulders, lifted her up, and finally threw her in front of a machine gun. "Then you don't have to stand, just sit down. See these two buttons? These are the triggers. Press them with both hands, aim at the black spine insect swarm at the back and hit the ones in the front row. Just press it once. Do you understand?" Lin Feng's voice was so loud that it even drowned out the sound of nearby heavy machine guns, awakening Zhang Yuner instantly. Seeing the other party's ferocious expression, he nodded quickly to indicate that he understood. Lin Feng took a deep breath and said in a cold tone, "Give me some play, or else the employee you just threw down will end up like you." Zhang Yuner was frightened and quickly placed her hands at a position designated by Lin Feng and began to aim and shoot. The black spine insect swarm was quickly suppressed. Lin Feng walked to the observation tower and shouted to Chen Yannian below, "Use half of the heavy machine guns and shoot towards the sky. It's best if you can aim. If you can't find them, just shoot." Lin Feng randomly knew that Chen Yannian could only do two things at once. She couldn't drive and shoot backwards and upwards at the same time. The blue-winged insects in the sky were especially difficult to aim at, and Chen Yannian's vision in the cab was limited. She was asked to allocate 5 heavy machine guns to shoot into the sky just to interfere with the attack of the green-winged insects. Anyway, the replica of the guard-level pistol has unlimited bullets and no cooldown. Although the damage is only 40, it only takes 1 or 2 shots to make the green-winged insect with weak defense lose its ability to fly. 5 heavy machine guns were deployed to suppress the offensive of the green-winged insects and restrict their movement trajectory, so that Lin Feng could lock onto them and use the additional attribute of the LV-17 howitzer, the Eye of Death, to perform pre-aiming and locking. However, the gun in his hand has been upgraded, howitzer LV-18/19, red quality upgrade .37 out of 10, damage 170. Effective range 8 kilometers, remaining bullets 4,500/4,500 extra attributes, bullet recovery 1/S, space magazine 4,500 ammunition reserve, death eye 0 for 50, fire coverage damage 30 plus 20/S. New changes to firepower coverage area upgraded to 1,000 square meters. Evaluation. This is a supergun with the power of a 155mm caliber howitzer. The bullets fired have been strengthened many times, and hitting the target will cause a destructive range of 10 meters in diameter. Kill the target and get upgrade points. This time the upgrade directly increases the basic damage by 20. With 170 damage, Lin Feng can kill even a late-stage first-stage black-spined worm with one shot. There are no major changes in other data, except for the firepower coverage attributes. The basic damage and charge damage have been increased by 10 points after charging for 1 second. It can deal 50 points of area damage. And most importantly, the coverage area has increased tenfold. Facing dense insect swarms, it can attack more than 100 black-backed insects at a time. 50 damage per square meter means that each black-backed insect will suffer at least 200 points of damage. When it comes to repelling the Zerg offensive, fire coverage is definitely much more useful than Death's Eye. However, in terms of airstrikes, the speed of the green-winged insect is several times faster than that of the black-backed insect, and its flying movements are difficult to predict in advance. When facing highly mobile enemies, the role of Death's Eye is revealed. It only took 1 or 2 seconds to check the attribute changes. After Lin Feng started the next round of upgrades, he directly raised the black muzzle of the gun, pointed it at the green light flying in the sky, and activated the Eye of Death. In an instant, his own consciousness was highly integrated with a gun in his hand, and he entered a state of selflessness where man and gun became one. 1, 2, 3, the flight trajectory of the green-winged insect gradually became clear in his eyes. Every time he completed the preview, he would lock on and track it and shoot it in the head. 15 seconds later, Lin Feng could no longer find any new targets in his field of vision, so he pulled the trigger. Bang bang bang. 15 shots in a row. 15 brightly burning fireballs with a diameter of 10 meters appeared in the sky. Seeing the green-winged insect turned into powder without a trace left, the corners of Lin Feng's mouth rose slightly. Sure enough, instead of reducing the hit accuracy by 10 times, it is better to directly expand the killing range by 10 times. Chapter 73, Level 2 Tiger Spine Insect, Face the Queen Mother. After the threat from the sky was successfully eliminated, the army of black-backed insects behind them was blocked 1,000 meters away with the cooperation of Chen Yannian and Zhang Yuner. Lin Feng originally wanted to raise the muzzle of the gun to test the new power of the fire coverage change, but he thought that it would be useless to kill more first-level bugs now, so it would be better to leave them to the RV and Chen Yannian. However, the one that Zhang Yuner used was not a replica, so she could not get any share of the profits from the insecticide treatment, which was equivalent to Lin Feng's work being wasted. A few minutes later, after they had distanced themselves from the black spine insect swarm, the crisis was temporarily resolved. Lin Feng looked at the female star beside him who was still frantically pressing the launch button, and went up to grab her right hand. Okay, that's enough. Seeing the ammunition box that had been mostly emptied, it was really like a son selling his father's land without any heartache. Lin Feng spoke coldly, calm down. Take a break. It's all over. Shaking off the woman's hand, Lin Feng sat cross-legged on the observation deck. There were still wisps of smoke coming out of the muzzle of the gun in his hand, but there was no target to attack. So he took the opportunity to start upgrading himself, and a warm current flowed from the gun into his body, relieving his physical fatigue. Zhang Yuner was stunned for a few seconds before she reacted. She leaned on the ground with her hands, but an expression of disbelief appeared on her face. The knot is over. We won. We survived. Watching the woman mumbling questions, Lin Feng did not answer her obviously idiotic questions. Instead, he looked into the distance with a serious expression, staring at the army of black-backed insects that had lost their target and were gradually dissipating. Beetle Patrol Team, to the time we defeated the black-backed beetle army. If everything goes well, Cheng Zan and the others should be almost at the outskirts of Heicheng. 20 kilometers behind the army of black-spined worms. 2 modified jeeps led by Cheng Zan and others were speeding on the highway, but they were all killed one by the companions in charge of alert in the car using silenced rifles. This group of people were the elite special forces of the 13th Division before the alien Zerg invasion. In addition to normal training with other soldiers, they also had many special operations drills people. Each of these 2 teams is the elite among the elites. At this moment, they had safely sneaked into the heart of the Zerg. As far as the eye could see, there was only a yellow and black scorched earth except for the straight highway under their feet. The yellow is mud and the black is insect poop. There is nothing else, just like a swarm of locusts, leaving no grass and no barren land. A teammate at the side couldn't help but say, once we drive away these damn alien bugs, perhaps the land in the south of the Yangtze River will become more fertile. The teammate holding the machine gun in the back seat shook his head. It was watered with human flesh and blood. Soon, the toll station on the highway finally appeared in front of everyone. The familiar building brought hope to everyone's eyes, but the next second, a huge and ferocious figure appeared behind the toll booth. Of the figure were clearly visible it was about 1/4 the size of a toll booth, more than 6 meters high and more than 10 meters wide, just like the dilapidated 3-story rural building nearby. This is their real goal. The second-level Zerg that has been missing for a long time, the tiger spine worm. A large insect that is several times more powerful than the black-spined insect. Aware of the danger, the special operations teams prepared for battle. 2 jeeps, 4 machine guns, and 2 large-caliber mortars have been pre-aimed. Cheng Zan raised his gun and gave the order, stop the car, don't get any closer. If they were any closer, their heavy firepower, including 100mm mortars, would hardly be effective. As the jeep braked suddenly, everyone stabilized their bodies immediately after the car stopped. There was no need for the captain to give orders, they directly adjusted the angle and opened fire. Along with the sound of machine gun fire and the whooshing sound of mortar firing, flashes of explosion appeared near the figure of the tiger backworm in the distance. When the loud explosion sound was heard, and the dust and white smoke dissipated, the bright yellow figure had disappeared, but Cheng Zan and the others did not let down their guard. They knew very well that with this little firepower, it was impossible to kill a second-level Zerg directly, and at most they could only seriously injure the opponent then walk up to them and kill them at close range. so that you can successfully complete the second awakening across levels. However, when the smoke and dust cleared, there was no trace of the tiger-backed worm. Cheng Zan looked at the puzzled looks from his men, hesitated for a moment, and then issued the order to advance. The only weapons they had that could threaten the second-order Zerg, besides the 2 mortars, were the 4 individual missiles in the trunk. The 4 machine guns in addition are effective against black spine worms, but for tiger spine worms whose attributes are doubled, it is a problem whether they can hit them at close range. Even if they hit them, the damage they can cause is extremely limited. Case this is a 120mm maximum caliber rocket launcher that also has infrared tracking capabilities, making it the special operations team's last resort when the 12 people nervously drove the jeep to the toll booth. Apart from the damaged buildings and the craters on the ground, the tiger-backed worm they were targeting did not leave any signs of injury, and there was not even a trace of blood on the ground. In an instant, a chilly air rushed from the soles of everyone's feet to the top of their heads. Immediately afterwards, the jeep they were riding in actually began to shake slightly. But the jeep had clearly stopped. Everyone withdrew their gaze from afar. After searching in vain, they saw that the broken ground near the jeep suddenly began to wriggle, bulging and denting, causing the tires to sink into the mud. The shaking feeling is getting stronger and stronger. But no matter how hard the driver stepped on the accelerator, the jeep would only sink deeper and deeper. Damn it, Pit! Cheng Zan climbed out of the car window to the roof and told the worst truth that had already predicted. They were trapped deep in the Zerg Queen's passage. Run! The tiger-backed worm from before actually hid in the worm pit. This is a trap to lure us in. Following Cheng Zan's call, the next second, countless yellow giant jaws broke out from the sticky liquefied soil and tore at the jeep in the worm pit, want to destroy the special operations team's only foothold. Several team members prepared to use ropes and hooks at the front to hang them on the steel frame roof of the toll station nearby, and then they quickly climbed up. There is still hope of escape. But when he was about to escape, suddenly, a green light flashed. The blue-winged insect also appeared. As they attacked, the extremely strong rope broke directly, and the people in the car below fell into the continuously collapsing insect pit. Cheng Zan was the last one to leave, and he had not yet left the roof when the rope broke. Seeing that his last hope of escape was shattered and looking at the insect pit dozens of meters wide in front of him, his face turned grim. He quickly dumped the bullets and supplies in his backpack, and then loaded in a bunch of mortar shells. Put on your backpack and jump directly into the insect pit. After being trapped in the sticky mud for an unknown amount of time, when Cheng Zan woke up again, a strange fluorescent green light flickered nearby, illuminating the dim space, but not far in front of him, he saw a huge beast crawling in the cave, with countless swarms of red beetles surrounding it, continuously providing it with food. As it slowly raised its head, hundreds of eyes the size of basketballs looked at the human it had just captured. In an instant, Cheng Zan felt an invisible pressure on himself, and his mind was in chaos. He fell to the ground and could only use the last bit of his sanity to grab the shoulder straps on both sides and hold the backpack tightly. Climb forward, want to get closer to this queen. I went out for a while and came back to find the toilet leaking. I called the property management and plumbers and had them tear down the toilet ceiling. It turned out that the leak was caused by the idiot upstairs. I spent the whole morning trying to contact the idiot, but couldn't get in touch with him. Chapter 74 Humans, submit to me. On the way, he saw his teammates who had fallen into the insect pit before him. Most of them were still in a coma, and a few who had reached level 19 like him woke up in a daze. Among them is the demoman in the team. He saw Cheng Zan's desperate move forward, and instantly understood what the captain meant, and whispered a reminder, Captain Cheng, this is useless, you have to remove the safety fuse on your head, and then use this to detonate it. As he spoke, the demoman took out 2 pieces of standard clay explosives from his backpack. C4, use this, it's powerful. Cheng Zan took the explosives and stuffed them into his bag. He used the grenade clenched in his hand to exchange the detonator of the C4 explosives with his teammate. Then, he removed the safety fuse of the mortar shell in the bag as he was told. Finally, he glanced at the unconscious teammate nearby and told the demolitionist, hold it steady, this is all a trap set by the Queen Mother. I am sorry for everyone. Don't let them go in too much pain. The demoman spat out a mouthful of mud and nodded seriously. Cheng Zan took a deep breath, lowered his head and continued to crawl forward. His ability is quite special. In addition to certain physical enhancements, it also has the special effect of concealment. As the most elite soldier in the special forces, Cheng Zhan is extremely talented in camouflage, which enables him to awaken superpowers that can conceal his aura and blend into the environment. Ordinary black-backed beetles cannot detect him, let alone the lower-level red beetles. This was his hidden trump card, which he gradually discovered during the battle. The stealth ability did not last long. Just like the improvement in his physical fitness, it could only last for a few minutes and was not enough to support him in escaping from the underground insect nest. But it can be the last resort to fight back against the Queen Mother. As he was slowly approaching, he suddenly heard screams from his teammates behind him. Looking back, he saw arthropod tentacles as thick as his arms piercing the shoulders of his unconscious teammate behind him. Awakened by the piercing pain, they let out heart-wrenching howls. There were countless level 9 red beetles, each with a pair of 2-meter-long folded chelicerae. At this moment, they pierced into the shoulder sockets of the Special Forces members, as if they were lifting pieces of clothing and sending them to the Queen Mother. Some people wanted to resist, but 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. Even if they were late-stage First-Order Awakeners, after breaking free from their restraints, they still could not move forward amid the countless insect swarms. In particular, the unknown and terrifying high-pressure underground environment and the multiple scars on their bodies caused their physical and mental state to continue to deteriorate. During this time, several level 19 ruthless guys suddenly exerted their strength, directly broke the red beetle's chelicerae, and landed on the red beetle's carapace, trying to escape from here. When they use their physical enhancement abilities, they can burst out to their extreme state and enhance their physical fitness by an additional 30%. The upper limit of 150 can be infinitely close to the basic physique of 200 of the second-level tiger spine worm after additional stacking. With such powerful strength and speed, it is naturally very easy for him to shuttle through the low-level red beetles. Another benefit of a strong physique is the rapid recovery of physical injuries. As long as the wounds caused by the chelicerae do not endanger the internal organs and brain, they can solidify and form scabs in a short time to prevent further deterioration. With their super eyesight, illuminated by the bright green light of the cave, they found 4 or 5 entrances leading to the outside world. Just when several people saw hope, the familiar figure from before appeared again. But this time it's no longer just one, but a group. More than a dozen tiger-backed worms are squatting at the entrance and exit of the mother's nest. As the queen's personal guards, they are responsible for protecting the safety of the mother's nest at all times. Naturally, she would not allow the prey, which she had already caught, to escape from the Queen Mother's mouth. Immediately, these level 19 special forces were beaten back by the tiger spine insect's pair of 6 or 7 meter long jaws. They fell heavily among the countless red beetles, and the wounds on their shoulders that had just scabbed over were pierced again. The continuous heart-wrenching pain almost made them faint again. Among them, the demolitionist who was holding the grenade tightly, pulled out the pull ring of the fragmentation grenade in his hand, and it flew into the group of red beetles, making only a dull sound. Although the red beetle was killed directly, the power was also absorbed by its carapace. As the last bit of resistance was suppressed, the members of the Special Operations Team were rushed to the Queen Mother by the swarm of red beetles. This high-level Zerg, whose head alone is more than 32 meters tall, was the level Zerg queen that raided the southern suburbs of Haichang City and wanted to encircle the TH division of Lu with another high-level Zerg. At this moment, after dividing up half of Haichang City, it has successfully entered level 33, and its size has increased a bit. It is only half of Wuchen's biomass away from breaking through to level 34. In order to reduce the losses in this battle, the Queen Mother not only needs to absorb a large number of human brains, read their memories, and learn about human strategic layout, but also needs to plant some spies as internal support. Unfortunately, there has never been such a good opportunity. Either the captured humans were too weak to withstand the parasitism and her mental control, or the status of the captured humans was too low to access the key information of human defense deployment. Until now, it has finally waited for such an opportunity. After watching the interesting struggles of humans, the Queen Mother directly asked her slaves to send the level 19 escapees. Then, several long, wriggling tentacles as thick as thighs came out of its mouth. The ends of the tentacles split into 5 petals, each of which was covered with sharp barb-like blades. These specialized mouthparts were very sensitive and quickly grabbed the LV-19 escaper by the head like enlarged versions of mosquito mouthparts, piercing into the brains of these escapees. The pain in the brain has overwhelmed the tearing of the scalp, but these poor Special Forces soldiers have lost the ability to speak. They watched helplessly as their brains were sucked away, and even their nervous systems were gradually controlled by the Queen Mother. During this period, Chang'an hid on the ground and watched his teammates die tragically one after another from the Queen Mother's intake of energy. He soon realized that the Queen Mother's wisdom was far beyond human imagination. The high-level Zerg are fully aware of the human situation, and even this exploratory action was already within their expectations. From the beginning to the end, it was a trap carefully laid for them. Fear, terror, mixed with anger, made Chang'an unable to bear it any longer, so he struggled to get up and pounced on the Queen Mother, who was less than 50 meters away from him. However, at this moment, dozens of red beetles seemed to be prepared and blocked in front of him, pinning him to the ground. The hundreds of eyeballs on the Queen's head in front of him were all directed at the human being pinned down by the red beetle. Chang'an just felt his brain froze. Under the pressure of the powerful aura, even the thinking process became blocked. Immediately afterwards, under the command of the Queen Mother, Chang'an, who was almost unconscious, was pierced through the shoulder by the red beetle's chelicerae and brought in front of it. After observing the human in front of her for a while, the Queen Mother let out a satisfied sound, and then withdrew the powerful mental power that was gathered on him. When Chang'an woke up, he immediately looked at his arm, which was almost unconscious. Fortunately, he had kept the detonator in his hand tightly clenched. He is now 30 meters away from the Queen Mother in front of him. If he detonates it directly at this time, he will not be able to hurt the other party at all. Continue executing his plan of mutual destruction. The tentacles that the Queen Mother spit out from her big mouth, and the few teammates caught at the end, suddenly spoke. You are their superior, and you seem to have great prestige among humans, so humans, submit to me. Chapter 75 Parasitic Control, Chapter Closure and Upgrade. When the last sentence sounded like thunder in his ears and hard at the same time, only then did he realize that the Queen Mother was controlling the bodies of her teammates, like puppets, and was using the puppets to have a conversation with him. With the help of the human Adam's apple and tongue, he spoke the federal language that Chang'an could understand. Under the gaze of hundreds of eyes, Chang'an took a long time to see such a strange scene. He then replied respectfully, If I can survive, I am willing to give everything to you, the great man. A hearty laugh immediately broke out from the teammates' throats, and then under the control of the Queen Mother, the red beetle lifted up the hooked Chang'an and walked closer. Seeing that the opportunity had come, Chang'an stopped pretending and used all his strength to struggle against the red beetle. He rolled and crawled, stumbling towards the Queen Mother's huge mouth. As long as the C4 bomb can be detonated on the head, and combined with a backpack of 5 or 6 mortar shells, the critical damage will be enough to severely damage this arrogant queen. However, at the moment when Chang'an broke free, a light blue light suddenly flashed from the teardrop-shaped egg sac hanging on the neck of the Queen Mother's body, behind her head. It not only illuminates the 7 or 8 meter large oval sac, but also radiates out like a ball of lightning, spreading throughout the entire nest. Not react at all. At first Chang'an thought it was just a short circuit and not triggered, so he pressed it a few more times, but still no response. It was not until he heard the familiar laughter again that Chang'an discovered in despair that the light from behind the Queen Mother's head had destroyed the electronic products in his hands. The internal circuit of the detonator has been completely destroyed, and the detonation of C4 requires instantaneous high temperature of high voltage. Listening to the mockery contained in the laughter beside him, Chang'an then pulled out the last grenade from his waist, wanting to die together with the monster in front of him again. Unfortunately, the Queen Mother was prepared and spit out a large number of tentacles from her huge mouth. Grabbing Chang'an all over his body, he threw the backpack full of bombs far away and at the same time knocked away the grenade with a pull ring pulled out of his hand with a bang. The grenade did not create a single spark among the swarm of red beetles. Then, Chang'an, who was extremely desperate, heard the Queen Mother's voice again. You humans are indeed extremely cunning, but it doesn't matter. Once it is swallowed, even the most determined warrior will be completely reduced to a slave of the insect. As she spoke, a strange, long insect that looked like a water scorpion crawled out of the Queen Mother's huge mouth. This half-human-sized strange insect approached. Chang'an's fear and despair reached its peak. Even though his arms were once again clamped by the red beetle's chelicerae, he forced his mouth shut and kicked the bug hard. However, at close range, the Queen Mother only gave Chang'an a look, and the still struggling Chang'an fell into a state of distraction, allowing the strange insect to crawl to him and leave a live egg on his chest. The living worm in the egg smells the scent of a living person and quickly breaks out of its shell, groping its way around, looking for a place to drill into the body. Soon I found the half-open mouth of the living creature. With a hissing sound, it entered Changzong's body. It parasitizes at the opening of its throat. Then Changzong completely lost consciousness at this moment. All the 12 Special Forces members except him were killed. Humanity's first exploration mission was declared a failure. Food they collected to the mouth of the high-level mother, allowing it to continue working at full capacity and continuously lay first-level insect eggs. They will hatch into black-backed worms, green-winged worms, and other special insects unknown to humans. At this moment, near the suburbs of Wuchen, the armed RV that had escaped the pursuit of the Black Spine insect army was parked on the highway, waiting for the return of the jeep. Lin Feng sat in the passenger seat, looking at the empty and desolate plain in the rearview mirror. Apart from the occasional red beetles that flashed by, there was no other living creature in sight. Chen Yannian glanced at the clock in the car. 3 hours had passed since they set out at around 10 in the morning, and the RV had been waiting here for more than an hour. Why don't we go back first? There has been no movement for a long time, and no explosions have been heard. I guess Lin Feng took a deep breath and nodded. He stayed here not out of friendship, but because he wanted to wait until Changzong and the others really rushed back so that he could obtain first-hand information and deepen his understanding of the insect nest and the queen. There has been no movement for such a long time. It is estimated that the mission has completely failed and the probability of escape is not high. Let's go. Go back and contact Qin Hu. Lin Feng was not optimistic about this exploration mission at the beginning. Changzong and his companions were completely obsessed with power and had lost their rationality, leading to their wrong judgment. In fact, the situation did not allow them to refuse for long at this moment. The relationship between the Awakener camp and the top leaders is in a delicate balance. If Changzong and others can return safely and become second-level Awakeners, the status of the Awakeners will be further improved, completely breaking free from the control of the upper echelons and even becoming the leaders of human resistance. But if the stalemate continues, the friction between the two sides in the struggle for power will intensify until it undermines stability. To becoming a perfect first-order Awakener requires a huge gamble, and the top leaders condone this behavior as long as they can kill or seriously injure the Zerg Queen and prevent the Zerg invasion. I guess the Research Institute was also behind this. It's a pity that the mission failed. So everything remains the same. Until the next group of awakened people who attempt to challenge the rules step forward and take a risk. On the way back, Lin Feng silently analyzed the gains and losses of this mission of upgrade points, but his LV-18 howitzer was about to enter the perfect LV-19, and at the same time he accumulated enough upgrade reserves for his LV-13 armed RV. In the days to come, he only needs to catch some live insects, help Chen Yannian reach the maximum level, and prepare for the final battle. Lin Feng glanced at the female Starg behind him who had fallen into deep sleep. This was the only thing left that needed to be solved. After the dusty armed RV drove back to the service area, Lin Feng found that Qin Hu's the jeep had already parked at the outpost base, and he was inspecting the progress of the bastion's construction. Seeing the RV driving back and stopping at the repair shop, Qin Hu came alone and walked under the tarpaulin tent. Looking at Lin Feng walking out of the passenger seat, Qin Hu showed a trace of regret, but still said unwillingly, "You are the only ones who survived?" Lin Feng hummed and shook his head. Another one passed out in the car. Qin Hu lit a cigarette for himself. "That big star?" Lin Feng nodded. "She killed the black-backed beetle and filmed it. The camera should still be in the trunk. My mission is accomplished. The promised supplies will be delivered as soon as possible. But the situation you promised last time has long since changed beyond recognition, so I have to increase the stakes, safely." It has little to do with him. Qin Hu even secretly hoped that they would all die in the Zerg hinterland, so that no other forces would affect his control over the Awakener camp. At present, Lin Feng has completed the mission very well, but the actual situation is hundreds of times more dangerous than what he originally described. The reason why he didn't show up to see me off this morning was because he was afraid that the meeting would be awkward. Fortunately, everything has ended smoothly now. Moreover, Lin Feng also prepared the signature and personal belongings that Qin Hu wanted, which was very important for a father, so he said generously, "No problem. I can give you 100 pairs of black-backed beetle jaws and hundreds of red beetle carapaces. Your RV can become stronger." Lin Feng shrugged and shook his head. "Not enough battle. You owe me this, so the more explodes the better." Qin Hu hesitated for a moment, and finally agreed. "I look forward to your wonderful performance during the battle." After the two finished their discussion, Qin Hu added before leaving, The two soldiers who escaped with Chang Zhan have been controlled. They are the scapegoats of this mission, so there is no need to worry. You're not actually on the list. Lin Feng nodded and said no more. After he walked away, Zhang Yuner in the RV behind him walked up slowly, rubbed her eyes, opened the side door and got out of the car. The once glamorous superstar now looked like a refugee, with disheveled clothes and a pale face. His body was filled with a strange smell of blood and insect juice. Lin Feng glanced at her and said with some disdain, "Now that you have killed the black spine worm, you just need to rest for a while, eat something, then lie down on the bed and wait for your complete awakening. We've reached the service area. Go back by yourself. If you have any questions, you can come to me. Of course, if you want to fulfill the promise I made to you when I saved you, I won't refuse, but you should take a shower, clean yourself up, and dress up nicely beforehand, otherwise I can't stand this monster." Hearing the other party's order to leave, Zhang Yuner frowned slightly and wanted to say something, but finally held it back and lowered her head and ran back to the RV in the distance. Now that she has witnessed Lin Feng's strength with her own eyes, and it is exactly the same as the rumor said, Zhang Yuner recalled her original purpose in her heart. Especially now that all the people she brought with her were dead, there was only one RV left in the huge parking lot. However, the 13th Division's base is not safe. After the big star left, Lin Feng was prompted and looked at the level 19 howitzer in his hand. At this moment, it had been fully upgraded. An invincible red quality weapon was born. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.